2+2 is proud to bring you the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club.
This week on the Pokercast, your yearly free money basketball picks with Alan Boston. Now here they are, Adam and Terrence.
Welcome to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. I am your host, Dave Schwartz, alongside Mr. Rosco P. Coltrane. I introduce you every week. Every week I say, hey, it's me, and then I go with Ross.
Hey, how are you?
The Riley Martin.
I love it. Every time we start the show, I'm like, I have like 4 windows open, and the drop page is in the back. And
from Hong Kong, Mr. Terrence Chan. T, how are you?
I'm doing excellent. A little bit hungry, but other than that, I'm having a good week.
A little hungry. You're in full cut mode, I guess, because there's a little bit of an announcement to make.
Absolutely, yeah. I am cutting away. I've decided to be a smaller man. That's not the announcement.
You're already a small man. Now you're going to get smaller.
I am. It's smaller.
Yeah.
I decided to be a smaller man.
Okay.
I was a 140-pound man a few days ago, and on Friday I'll be a 125-pound man. And the reason for that, of course, is I've decided to hit someone in the face. Ross.
Oh.
Hit him in the face. Thank you.
Let's start the show again.
No, I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
No, this is great. So kind of an interesting story. I'll tell people off the top, but
please.
I was supposed to actually fight this week a while ago. That doesn't make sense actually, but I was supposed to. I was scheduled to fight this week. I had a fight lined up a while back in Hong Kong, right here in Hong Kong, and that fell through simply because the promoter decided to cancel the event. I guess he figured he could not make money on the event, which is a thing that promoters like to do in general. So that unfortunately got canceled. So I was getting ready, but that was probably about 6 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago that happened. So not a huge deal. You'll remember that I was in Thailand, and I never like to sort of make announcements or allude to things that are going to happen. Do the old sort of wait and see, big things are coming teaser. It's never been my style. But so I've been training, and I had some teammates that were, I had my coach fought in Chechnya last week.
What?
Of all places.
Like in the street, or was it an organized fight?
Yeah, right. Like
you can find a fight.
Yeah, Chechnya is not a hard place to find a fight. No, in an actual organized organization. My coach is just an obscenely good fighter. He actually ended up losing this one in Chechnya by decision. He fought against the Chechen.
And
say again?
My wife.
Oh, that's Kazakhstan. Close though.
Yeah, not really that close.
No, not.
But anyway, he went to Chechnya and he lost a tough decision. And I have another teammate who's fighting, this Saturday, in the Philippines. And so there was supposed to be another guy on our team. It's kind of a new guy to our team who was also supposed to fight in the Philippines, and he was supposed to fight 125 pounds. And I'm like, okay, well, I can help this guy train for a fight. I'm his size. I get to the gym. This guy's big. This guy's taller than me. He's more muscular than me. He might even have a little more fat than me. And I'm like, how is this guy going to make 125 pounds? And it's hard for me. This guy's probably walking around at like 155, 160 pounds. Plus, he's never made the weight before.
Oh.
So that was interesting. So I was like, oh, okay. And then, so he kind of stopped showing up to practice. It's quite kind of weird. And then, and I say like, to the other guys on our team, like, is this guy, what's this guy's deal? Like, he's not showing up. And another guy who's fighting tomorrow says, I don't think he's going to make it. So I sort of started secretly, like, game planning. I never want to take somebody else's fight away from them.
You just want to be ready in case you get the call, right?
But I want to be ready just in case. And then, like, the week before, I text this dude. The dude is supposed to fight, and I go like, hey, let's work on some things. Let's practice some things that you're weak at, and let's focus on your strengths, that kind of thing. Never shows up to practice. Sends a few texts to our kind of group, our WhatsApp group, and says like I don't think I can make this weight. And I say like, I don't want the team to look bad. I'll step up to fight. I don't want to cut up to 125 pounds, but I'll do it. And so that's it. And I just decided on Monday that this is going to go down. So
okay, hang on. I want to ask you about the guy.
3 days.
So he goes. How dangerous is it to go from, let's say he's 160 to 125? I mean, that's when you don't weigh that much to begin with, cutting that much weight has got to be a health issue.
Yeah, it's a ton of weight. I mean, most people think that you can safely lose about 10 to 15%, right? So 10 to 15% is kind of like the upper bound for like a lean person to lose without too much health risk, at least the week of. I mean, you can diet yourself down, right? So, I mean, I definitely know of 125ers who come down from 150, 155-ish. I don't know many that come from like 160 or something like that. But yeah, it's certainly dangerous. It's certainly, especially if you're already lean, right? I think that's the main thing. It's like if you're, you know, you can be, I know it sounds funny, but you can be like fat at 155 pounds, right? Like if you've got a small frame, you know, if you're short, you've got small bones, you know, that kind of thing. That's a different story. But if you're already lean and you don't already have a lot of body fat, then it's going to come out of somewhere, and, you know, you're going to have some muscle loss, which, you know, losing a little muscle is not the biggest thing, but where you really start getting in danger is like losing organs, right? You know, losing water to your organs, and that's when you run out of muscle and fat. That's where it's going to come from, and that's bad. That's the real concern. That's dangerous. That's where people start dying, and people have definitely died doing this. So we definitely don't want to see that.
So let's talk about the guy you're going to beat.
Sure.
What do you got him? You got some video on this guy? Weaknesses? I mean, I don't think he's probably listening to the show. He probably doesn't speak English, but give us your take on your opponent.
Yeah, I have some videos up on my website. You can check it out, terrencechanpoker.com. I threw up some videos. He's fought a lot. Looks like he had about 15 amateur fights and one pro fight. And, I could only find some video of his amateur fights, but he fights a lot. He seems to fight often because I just kind of find, like, I Google his name and I'll just sort of see, like press releases that are a few weeks apart of him fighting. So he seems to fight all the time. I think his record was like 10-5 as an amateur. The video you'll see on the site, he's got some very fast kicks. He's got a quick knockout by a head kick. He's got a submission in like 35 seconds. He's got like a kind of Ronda Rousey style armbar, actually, where like the guy kind of runs at him and he armbars him immediately, and the whole thing is over in like 20 seconds.
Wow.
Those are both up on my website. You can check those out. That's kind of all I know. But it looks like he's a good fluid kicker, but he's small. Like you said, I'm small, but he's like 5'2", and he doesn't look he doesn't look thicker than me. So it's going to be the first time, maybe ever, I guess, that I've ever fought somebody and I said, like, I've got a big size advantage on the guys. You remember?
Yeah, you always fight bigger guys.
Yeah, you've probably seen my last weigh-in picture, maybe on my Facebook page or something like that. The guy I fought back in Vancouver last May, like he's bigger frame, bigger, taller, more muscular frame than me. And that's standard. And that's what you say with this silly weight cutting nonsense, right? Like I weigh 140, so cutting to 135 is easy, which means that other dudes are coming from 155 to come down to 135, right? So it's just this kind of silly game where everybody fights 15, 20, 25 pounds lower than what they actually weigh, right? Yeah. So, it's just that's what it is. So, but yeah, that's the guy. I can't say I know a whole lot about him other than he's got a lot of experience. He's got some power and he's got some speed. So, I think it'll be a good fight.
7 o'clock Saturday night in Manila. So you're flying to Manila, I guess. Is there an issue with being up in the air, or does that change your body? Do you anything concerning about that? The flight itself?
Nah. It's a short flight. It's like, it's less than Vancouver to San Francisco would be Hong Kong, Manila.
It's like an hour.
So it's a short flight. It's all the same time zone. The weather change might be a little weird. It's obviously, it's quite hot and humid in Manila, and it's cool right now. It's like 10 degrees right now in Hong Kong, but it's like 30 in Manila. So that's the thing. But yeah, you'll be able to check it out online.
Watch it live?
I think so. So, I mean, I asked if there's a stream. I asked the guy on Facebook if there's a stream. He said, yeah, it'll be at WSOFGC. So it's World Series of Fighting Global Championship, something like that. It's part of the World Series of Fighting, which is like one of the second tier UFC leagues. Second tier to the UFC, rather. So yeah, that'll be Saturday night in Manila, but Saturday morning for most of like North America and Europe.
So 4 a.m. Pacific. You're going to make me get up at 4. 7 a.m. Eastern at WSOFGC.com. Cool. Check that out.
You might not have to get up at 4 because I'm probably not going to be the very first fight. So
good point.
Problem. Ross will just stay up later. I know that because I think that in Hong Kong, Ross and I are actually on the same time.
That's Ross's
I think we actually woke up at the same time and go to bed at the same time.
It seems like it.
I'm
Nice.
going to bed at like 9 p.m. and then I'm going to bed at like 9 p.m. my time, and it's like 7 a.m. It's 7 a.m. back in Vancouver or whatever it is. It feels like.
Rosco,
that's about right.
You were on the weekend. You were down watching. You went to a gig in Seattle.
Yeah, I went to Tom Segura. It was
Segura's the best.
super funny. Yeah.
He's great. So you went to the gig?
Yeah.
What's up, white boy? I eat grass.
That's a great story he tells on Jay Moore's podcast. I think it was like the second ever Jay Moore podcast.
He also said,
You can charge after the game.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so that was super fun. Went down, went through small town Washington, hit all the shopping malls on the way.
Right.
Hit up
Well, they're all suffering because the Canadian dollar got hammered.
Yeah.
So usually
Has been
Canadians
for over a year now.
Yeah, Canadians would go over the border, shop, load up, and come back because it was a lot cheaper, even if they had to pay duty, whatever. Now, with back when the dollar was even, and now with the huge disparity in the dollar, those stores across the line are closing down left and right.
Yeah.
And Canadians love shopping over the border. I mean, you can ask like my girlfriend or basically like,
Anybody.
definitely like any Canadian woman or Vancouver woman, like they will cross-border shop. Like, and that's the most fun thing to do. But I know nothing. I mean, I know nothing about shopping. I don't know why it's different in places like Bellingham or wherever the stuff that you can't get in Vancouver. I wouldn't have the slightest clue. But if you ask anybody who's really into shopping, they all cross-border shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just cheap. So we were rolling through, I think the town was Burlington.
Yeah.
And
all the outlet centers.
yeah, we stopped at a little outlet center there, and I girlfriend goes to Lululemon, and I walk into the Reebok store, and I'm like, oh, this place is a dump. And then I see on I see on the wall, it's like 70% off, like final closing sale. They're trying to just get rid of everything. So I'm like, holy crap, the shoes are already marked down. So it's like
70% off the markdown.
70% off the markdown. So there's like shoes that were like $120 down to like $50, and then marked down 70%. So you're getting like $15, $10 pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
So I buy like I bought 6 pairs of shoes.
Okay.
You're jumping on Skype.
Yeah,
Thomas.
and I got on. I was like, well, I need to try and get everybody to take advantage of this deal.
Yeah.
So I try and get you guys some stuff. And then, so I get home with all the stuff after the weekend, and
Wait, to Vancouver?
Yeah, to Vancouver.
Okay. Paid a bunch of duty on the way back?
No duty.
Oh, good.
No. I think you can spend it every day. You spend.
You
I was there for
yeah.
like 3 days. We
Right.
only spent like $400 or something. So I get back and I usually waterproof my shoes.
Okay.
Because it's Vancouver, I don't want to ruin my shoes, so I spray the toxic water coating all over it. But it was
I've never done that. I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah,
I don't know anything about shoes. That's really like people do that.
yeah. I do it to all my shoes.
Like you do it for like athletic shoes, for dress shoes, for everything.
I just do it for everything. I don't know. I
learned.
I already have like probably like 30 pairs of shoes. I have a lot of shoes, so I got another 5 pairs or whatever, and it was pouring rain out, so I went into the laundry room to spray this shit. So I line up all the shoes in the laundry room, and they're all lined up like across like 5 feet or whatever, and I'm spraying this stuff, and it's going closer and closer to the water heater, which I'm not aware has a fucking pilot light.
my God.
So I create a massive vapor trail, and I get like slightly close to the water heater, and just boom, fireball out. All the shoes just set on fire. There's just a giant jet stream of fire fires out, and I'm like, I panic. I'm like,
Did you singe your eyebrows?
No, it didn't really hit me. And then and I'm like, oh fuck, all my shoes are on fire, and I just like kicked them towards the door to get them away from the
So you got toasted
the fire.
shoes?
Yeah, I ruined all the shoes.
Everyone? They're done?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did it for the show. I just did it for the
The
story.
good news
for the
is they're
story.
waterproof.
That's right.
Yeah, they're not
If you
fireproof.
tried to put the fire out, it wouldn't have worked because they're waterproof.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was pretty dumb, but
That's awesome. How was the Segura show?
Segura was so funny.
Was he good?
Yeah, really funny. Had a couple openers in town.
Good.
It seems that they get a better stand-up scene down in the States.
It's pretty good down there.
Yeah. Tacoma was fun. He had some.
The comics don't want to make that arduous 1 hour flight up there from Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, they make Canadian money, right? So now with the
that's a good
dollar.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. So other than the the ruined shoes. I mean, I saved one pair of shoes, which I bought for my mom. So
Nice.
So technically, I got like one pair of shoes, a hat, and a couple
For $100 and
shirts.
some odd dollars.
Well, I think all I spent it for myself at the Reebok store was like $80 or whatever. So it was technically I paid full price. Yeah.
You paid full price.
But and then I destroyed all these other shoes. But
T,
whatever. I think it'll be a lesson if any other lazy poker players are spraying toxic chemicals indoors.
I'm just going to go ahead and guess nobody else is doing it. We all learned that lesson young. You're a little older than when I learned it. A buddy of mine had a can of Pledge.
Yeah.
And I had a lighter, so we were making fireballs.
So you were doing it on purpose.
Yeah, we were doing it on purpose. For some reason, I lit the lighter and he shot the spray right at me. Went
God!
Right up my body, singed all my eyebrows, and it was fun.
Yeah, we used to have fireworks fights on Halloween.
Good fun.
That's a big thing in BC. Like people shoot bottle rockets at each other. That's good to say fun.
I've been hit with a few air bombs and shit like that.
I took the J. Kuhn shower challenge this morning.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I did.
How
I have the audio, but
what did you
I
set the
didn't
timer
feel
for?
like it was good enough. Well, I didn't. Well, so I get into the and I'm telling my wife, I'm like, for whatever reason, I had committed to doing this. She's like, you're an idiot. I'm like, you're right. So I jump in and I don't jump in. I turn on the cold outside the shower, and I try and muster up the.
I think that's suboptimal. Yes.
Really? Yeah, I guess you probably need to get in and do it. Anyway, so I did it this way, and I'm trying to get the courage to jump into this ice-cold shower. And my body literally won't let me jump in. Like, I step in.
Your body knows how to do it.
I'm just like, I couldn't bring myself to do it. So I'm thinking, was there an easier way to do this? So I get in, and I turn it on. It's kind of not really warm, but not quite as ice-cold. So just kind of between cold and ice. I turn it on, shock. And but it's still a little bit of warm water. I can feel the warm water, so I turn it to cold, and it hits me like I start, hyperventilating. I'm like, how it's shock almost. Your body goes into whatever. And I lasted about maybe 10 seconds and hit the hot. I couldn't do it, man. I don't know how you guys do that.
You can do it.
No.
Like you can't. There's nothing.
I mean, if you paid me a lot of money to do it, I can't do it.
No, look, if there's a shower running and like some big burly person shoves you into the shower, you will not die. I promise.
No, you won't die. You'll be severely uncomfortable.
Yes, you will be significantly uncomfortable. I'm not arguing. There's a tremendous difference between severely and uncomfortable and I cannot.
Okay.
those two, as it turns out, are not synonyms. Right?
Well, for different people, maybe they are. But anyway.
It's easier for me to do it when you're in front of a crowd of people, because I've done the polar bear swim now a couple times.
Oh my God.
And that's really no problem.
Adema does
get
that
in there, get in out. But when I try and get in the cold shower by myself, I can't bring myself to do it because
I'm not the only one.
Yeah, when I go in, I can't.
Get in the
there's no
shower,
one there to
to
judge me, so I'm just like, just go right to hot, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Go in there, close the door.
All right.
Won't die.
While I was taking audio, I was thinking this would be fun for anybody who wanted to try this, in our audience. You've got an app on your smartphone that records audio. Kick it on, jump in the cold shower, send us the audio for the lulz, as they say, and we'll post it up. So, quick chat.
Watch as the fat burns off of you.
Is that what it does? Oh, then I'm doing it tomorrow.
Oh. Yeah, I mean,
I had no idea it was a fat burner.
It's tremendously good as a hermetic fat burner. I won't get into the science behind it, but yeah, like it absolutely it's great for burning fat, and it's great for testosterone. Those two go together. When you manage to increase testosterone levels, you're going to burn fat because you're going to have more muscle, and the muscle burns fat, and blah blah blah. But yeah, absolutely, you'll be a thinner you.
How did he miss the open goal? 6x4, and he comes up 0. Oh no!
Oh yes, he missed it.
He's missed it! How on earth did he miss that?
Let's jump right into it. In case you missed it, T, Mustafa Kanit, just off being picked number 1 overall in the GPL by Max Pescatori's team, banked the Sunday Million this Sunday for 177,000. Beat out 5,717 entrants. This guy is on some kind of ridiculous tear. He took down the Supersonic last week, and it's just, I mean, for the last sort of 24 months, he's on fire. He's just winning tournaments at a ridiculous rate. To the point where you just kind of go, is this guy even real? And I think that's even the name of the thread in NVG. But amazing story. This guy, people, when we were down there too, they were saying, why, obviously it's Italy getting their first pick. They're going to go after Mustafa Kanit, but he doesn't deserve it, where a lot of people were kind of whispering. And I think he's proven that that's not the case.
Yeah, you use the word bink, which is usually the word that people use when something's like a really rare event, because like,
right.
It's like nobody ever says like I binked a sit and go, right? It almost seems like to him like winning majors is like a course of action. So yeah, you referenced the thread, and the first post in that thread nicely summarizes it, obviously without this recent score, but like third in the W Coupe for 400K, first in a Sunday 565K, second in a 109 rebuy for 46K, two other W Coupe cashes for 400K, F-Tops main, Scoop 2K turbo
reigning Scoop main event champion.
Reigning Scoop, yeah, like it's ridiculous. Like it's just, yeah, the off the charts level of online success. 3.9 million, by the way, for that screen name. The screen
lasagna.
Name, lasagna. Which we can all get behind. We can all agree that lasagna is delicious.
Yes, except you can't eat any for a while. In case you missed it, Dan Bilzerian.
There may be a few food related like side comments on my part for the next 3 hours. Just FYI, just as a warning, I may have food on the brain.
I don't blame you. Dan Bilzerian and Bill Perkins. We talked about this bet. Bilzerian has to ride his bike from his home in Los Angeles to Las Vegas in under 48 hours. The bet is for, I believe, 600,000. They've both put up. This bet is going to happen, or the ride's going to happen by March 31st. So coming up in the next 2 weeks. And took an interesting turn this week. Bilzerian flew Lance Armstrong in to help him train.
Of course he did.
Which is fantastic. I mean, that's something Bilzerian would do, right?
That came together because of Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan had
the bet did?
Yeah, well, I saw a tweet exchange between Joe Rogan and Bilzerian, where Joe Rogan, because he recently had Lance Armstrong on his podcast.
Yeah.
So he had Lance's information, and Lance told Joe that he would help Dan do it.
Wow.
So the podcasting world brought
awesome.
that together.
Nice. So, I mean, you got to like his chances. The guy's, he's big and bulky, but 48 hours to ride that far doesn't seem like that hard. Yes, I know there's huge elevation changes in some points, but you got to like his side.
Is Lance going to bring the blood doping and all the extra juice with him to be able to help him?
Yeah.
All his quote unquote supplements. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. We did when we talked about this originally. We talked about that. Our experiences driving, of course, along 15. We're not crazy enough to do anything like this, but we did mention that like we thought it was relatively flat, and then a few posters came into the forum, which was awesome.
Yeah,
and sort of corrected us and said, yeah, there's actually multiple ups and downs, which is
you don't remember when you're driving, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Like I just remember it just being like monotonous, and like the highlight of that entire trip is the in and out in Barstow. See, that's my second trip.
My highlight for that trip is XYZ XXX Road.
Yeah, Zizix Road is great, just south of Vegas. Yeah,
whatever it is.
ZZYZX or ZZYZ Zizix Road. That is pretty cool, but that's almost Vegas.
That is getting there.
Yeah, it's over with the in and out and the Chipotle pit stop halfway through. But yeah, when you think about it, there are some. I mean, obviously Vegas is I think 2,200 feet of elevation, and LA obviously on the coast.
Zero.
So there's going to be some up and downs, although I guess that tells you that going that way, going in that direction, because it's Vegas to LA, right? Not the other way around.
It's LA to Vegas, I believe.
It's LA to Vegas. Okay,
yeah.
So you are going up. So yeah, there's obviously some peaks and valleys. I don't know exactly how many, but there's a few. I mean, yeah.
So I've watched my fair share of biking. And when I watch it, I always see the guy streamlined behind his partner on the team, right? It's a team event generally, and these guys slip in behind their stream, gaining a big advantage apparently. So they'll tell you on the broadcast. So I'm guessing, I don't know if it wasn't reported that there was any specifications about whether Bilzerian could, shadow somebody.
Draft
so I'm
behind,
guessing.
Yeah. I mean, you could draft behind like an RV
Armstrong
or something like that,
or an RV. Yeah, exactly. I didn't think of that.
That's what you would want to do is have like wind resistance or something like that. I mean, I don't know if Dan Bilzerian has that sort of level of Amarillo Slim to him.
I think he does.
Hitting golf balls across frozen lakes and stuff like that. But there's certainly. Doesn't sound like there's any rules about steroids or blood doping or anything like that.
Somebody just said Sam Abernathy completed the same bet.
She did the same. It was the opposite way, Vegas to LA, and she had a 72-hour time frame, and Dan Bilzerian paid her $10K.
So she did it easily in 72 hours.
Easily, yeah. I think she made some video posts about it. I was just reading. You could follow along. Yep, she made it. No problem. I guess there was a storm on the way, and she was tired, but
gotcha.
Doable.
In case you missed it, Max Kruse, the German international football star, loses 75,000. Apparently, it was reported that he lost 75,000 euros of his poker winnings in the back of a taxi at the World Series of Poker in Berlin. T, you were there at this tournament.
I did not take that taxi.
He would have had his money back. Nobody turned his money in. He called the police and never got his money back. And even worse, I guess it somehow got out that this had happened, and his club team, Wolfsburg of the German Bundesliga, fined him 25,000 euros for playing poker and warned him not to again, or his contract may be terminated. So not only did he lose the 75, he got $25,000 fine, and then one step closer to losing a giant, multi-millions. But the guy plays a ton of poker. I think he went deep in a deuce to 7 in Vegas a couple years back. Big poker player. And pretty crazy that in this day and age,
like that, for them to go and like police, his life like that way. I mean, I guess it's not surprising. There's always that connection, but it's also incredibly hypocritical of European soccer, European football of all places to do it, when every single fucking jersey is a sports book. I mean,
you're right. I know. And then
they get every ad. You ever watch like the European sports channels? It's always like it's an ad for this British sportsbook or this Swedish sportsbook or this. Like they're all, and these are gambling on sports. He's gambling on cards. It's insane. But I mean,
makes no sense. He's not skydiving.
Obviously, there's some
not
clause in his contract that says you're not allowed to do whatever gambling and put the team in disrepute, but it's tremendous hypocrisy.
Yeah, it is, especially in a situation where it's at the World Series of Poker in Berlin. It's legal. He's not in some shady card room with some gangster or anything like that. Crazy, yeah. And not only that, he lost the money.
I mean, I wonder if he's going to be allowed to come back to the WSOP. I mean, like you mentioned, he cashed in the WSOP last year and probably had fun doing that. He actually cashed in WSOP twice. He cashed 2015 and 2014.
Yeah.
Played the 10K PLO, and as well as you mentioned, finishing third in the No Limit Deuce. The event that we talk about every year, that
the great event, fun event,
the event that you can run good in and win, even when you
never played,
even when you've never played the game before.
Indeed.
In case you missed it, I'm going to jump into this one. I saw this morning that Xuan Liu, she has basically sort of a affirmative action poker coaching rate or something like that. She's basically saying that if you identify as a woman, she has a half price policy for coaching. So I thought people might be interested in that for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you're one of the 7 women who listens to this show, you might want to take advantage of that reduced rate. Learn from one of the best players, one of the best female players, and one of the best players, period, in all of poker. Xuan Liu's been successful for a really, really long time. But yeah, she's kind of thrown that out there. I saw that on Poker Fuse, and then it was on her Twitter. So she's getting out there trying to make poker popular for ladies. I think she's doing a good thing. Obviously, there's going to be their fair share of randoms who are like, "Oh my god, this is so whatever."
We're going to get that, yeah.
I don't know what to say about that, but
I mean, it's up to her. She's providing a service, and if it was her friend rather than male-female who she's giving a discount to, nobody would bat an eye. So it's beyond me why it would matter to anybody. But
not to mention like the people who are normally against like equalizations, like affirmative action, like for example, like policies designed to increase more women in X field. Like those are usually the people who say, "Oh yeah, business has the right to do whatever it wants." Yeah, because like you can't really consist. Like I'm very much lean libertarian, and I'm one of those people that says like, yes, companies should be able to charge whatever they want to whoever they want. If you want to be the racist deli and charge X dollars for this set of people and X minus $1 for this set of people, I think you're a shithead, but you should still have the right to do it. And similarly, here, like, yeah, she can charge whatever she wants to whoever she wants. Obviously, she's doing it for the cause of trying to get more women into poker, and it's a positive thing. So check out Xuan Lu's Twitter and probably contact her if you're a female player, if you identify as female and you're interested in that. Poker Fuse also has a write-up on what she's doing in that regard.
In case you missed it, the Super High Roller Bowl, which I still think that name needs to be something else, but coming up in May. This is
it's a little awkward, right?
It is kind of weird.
Even High Roller Super Bowl would sound better. I think.
Reminds me of the Super Dave Osborne. Remember Super Dave Osborne?
Really, a High Roller Super
Just calling everything super. But anyway, Super High Roller Bowl.
It kind of reminds me of it like a Chinese restaurant where they put too many adjectives in front of it, like Super Happy Fun Time Palace Golden Restaurant. Like, that guy.
Yeah. Remember Happy Fun Ball on SNL? I just remember that. He reminded me, loved Happy Fun Ball. All right, so the tournament is sold out. This was capped off at 49 people for this year, 2016's version at the Aria in May. This is a $300,000 buy-in tournament. Last year, you'll remember, was $500,000, $500,000. They lowered it this year to $300,000. They didn't sell out last year, I believe, so they felt that, I guess, moving it down to $300,000 would do the trick, and it did. I'm a bit confused. I want to go through some of the people that are there, first, after. But first, I want to talk about the fact that they've capped it at 49 people. I'm guessing, that they just felt that this would motivate people to sign up early without kind of scouring the list all the time on who's in, who's not in, and figuring that part out. But I would bet if you asked most people, like if you took a vote of the people on the list and said, "Hey, should we let more people in now that we've decided it's sold out?" almost everybody would say sure.
Yeah, they may or they may not. We don't know. Like, maybe they think some people are super fishy in there and they want their extra equity. But looking down this list, I don't know who's fishy and who not when it comes to these super high stakes players, to be honest. But,
right. I mean, sure, a lot of them aren't going to be, we don't know they're fishy, but they actually are because they're a known name and, a lot of people will think they're good. But, maybe they aren't. Who knows?
Right. But I mean, I think it's what you said before. It comes down to they had to, cap it to really encourage people to enter, to make sure that there wasn't going to be like everybody waiting at the last minute and like everybody going like, "Oh, how many people are signed up? Oh, 6. Okay, I'll call back tomorrow." Like that's the situation I think they didn't want to get themselves in, and they've successfully have it. Now, of course, once you do that, you can't just go like, "Well, oh, we got the 49. Actually, yeah, we're going to open it back up," because you have absolutely no credibility when you choose to do this in the future.
Yeah.
So,
well, they don't have any incentive because they're not raking it, right? So they don't need to. Right. It's not any better for them to open it up and have more people.
And in fact, they're going to probably lose money on it because they'll probably comp food and they'll get like cushy chairs and all this kind of stuff. They'll get like ancillary benefits from the media coverage. Like they won't necessarily lose money necessarily on it, but I mean they're not certainly the rake is not their driving source of revenue here. It's the publicity and it's the coverage and all this kind of stuff. That the rake is basically insignificant here, as it was supposed to be talking about, the vast majority of other tournaments where the rake is at worst a loss leader. Here it's just, not zero.
Well, for sure. So let's go down the list quickly. Andrew Roble, Anthony Gregg, Esfandiari, Ben Lamb, Ben Tollerine, Bill Perkins. So it takes you 5 people. The sixth person you would say probably is minus EV with Bill Perkins. Next is Bobby Baldwin, Brandon Stephen, Brian
probably
Rast.
Also negative EV, Bobby Baldwin.
Bobby Baldwin, yeah.
Just imagine that he's at the elite level that these guys are at.
Brian Rast, Bryn Kenny, Byron Caverman, Kerry Katz, who you might consider a casual player, Christoph Vogelsang, Connor Drynan, Dan Coleman, Dan Perper, not sure who he is, Dan Shack, Sam Smith, Daniel Negreanu, David Peters, Dominic Nietzsche, Doug Polks, Seidel, Feder Holtz, Haralabos, which surprised me because I've talked to Haralabos about this tournament and these tournaments in general before, and he's very focused on, and he's very realistic about his sort of skill level as far as playing No Limit Hold'em tournaments, and he looks for value. Like I remember when he bought into the big one, the $1 million buy-in one drop, he bought his entry at a discount from somebody who won it in the lottery, so it worked out to be plus EV for him, he felt. But this one, I just don't see the.
It's really surprising, right? Like we think of Haralabos as a guy, like you said, as a guy, and he's actually said this to you separately. Like he's a guy who wants to play in plus EV spots. He's obviously wealthy, but he's not like stupid wealthy. I think to the point, and he makes his living on gambling. So I mean, that is definitely surprising. When I agree, I wonder if there's some sort of deal there. I can't imagine he has all of himself, but I mean,
or maybe you can transfer it or something. I would, as far as having all of them, so I bet he does. I don't think he would sell much off. Right. And I wonder if you can transfer it, though. That might be the only thing, if maybe he put the money down to be able to assign it to somebody.
Sort of like as an option.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. Igor Kurganov, Ike, Jake Schindler, Jason Less, Mercier, John Morgan, Justin Bonomo, Kathy Laney, Larry Wright, Matt Berkey, Nick Pietrangelo, Galfond Helmuth, Lack, Rainer Kempe, Sam Soverel, Scott Seaver, Stephen Chidwick, Kuznetsov, Marchese, and Vitaly Rizhkov. So, and two that have to be announced. They haven't announced who they are yet. So, but yeah, I mean, just you look down that list and maybe 6 spots, you could say. Like, it doesn't look
which is I think more than is kind of typical for like a 6-figure buy-in tournament. Really, to be honest, like, I mean, if you're looking for value, it's actually not a bad spot. If you've got, like, let's say 6, let's say you've got 6 spots in there. Well, with only 49 players, then and no rake, that's 12.8% of the field.
Yeah,
about.
That's true. The no rake's a pretty big factor here, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I noticed this, and I wanted to get your guys' take on it. But okay. PokerStars closed their deep and ante tables.
These are the cash games.
Yeah, so No Limit and PLO, all the ring games had a I think it was 200 big blind buy-in cap with an ante, and they've removed those tables from 1020 and below. So I used to play these games at PLO. I'd play like 10, 25, 50 cent, and I found they were pretty good value. It was, you could play deeper against the same players, and I guess
you play deeper. Or they're capped. They're not capped.
Well,
these are uncapped games.
You can buy in for 200.
Okay.
And then
that's the
that's the
cap
max.
Is deeper.
Yeah, the cap is deeper, and then you double up through someone else's, and then there's a few people at the table that have 400 big blinds. You're playing really deep. And I guess they've done this to, they've started trying to weed out the bum hunters and, keep people in action.
Sure.
Do you think that's why?
Maybe. I mean, it does seem to be the movement at Stars to take away places that would allow for that kind of thing. T, any thoughts on what that could be?
I mean, it's generally, I think Ross kind of covered it when he's describing, like you triple up, some other guy triples up, and then those two are going to get in a confrontation and somebody gets all the money, which is generally what Stars is trying to prevent. They want it to cycle over, right? So, I mean, obviously, one way you can do this is to lower the stakes, but there's resistance to that, right? So, but, when you got guys playing 50-cent dollar, and then all of a sudden they're playing 600 big blinds deep, they're effectively playing much bigger than they're used to playing, and they may not be aware of these dynamics and all this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not really so to protect against bum hunting. It's almost to protect the fish from themselves from when they do run good, I guess, kind of thing. Although the tendency will be for people who have like 6, 8, 10 times their starting stack. Those are usually good players, like 80 to 90% of the time.
Yeah.
They're usually the guys with like 5 times the max buy-in is usually a pro and who's just kind of been grinding all day. But sometimes it's just some fish on a heater. So, I mean, I guess there's some protective mechanism. I guess they just sort of don't see value. And another thing that closing these games does is it stops dividing the player pool, right? So, now if everybody's forced into the 100 big blind games, then, you've created a deeper pool of liquidity more than if you had the regular buy-in pool as well as the deep buy-in pool. Obviously for No Limit Hold'em and Pot Limit Omaha, like, it's not a huge deal at the very lowest stakes, but maybe in like the sort of middle range from 1, 2 and above, it makes bigger difference.
Yeah, I wonder if you cost yourself any customers in the process though of trying to do that, or if what happens there, but remains to be seen, I guess. In case you missed it, the Garden City Group, who of course are the Full Tilt Claims administrators for the claimbacks for Full Tilt Poker, what is it, 5-6 years ago now? People are still trying to get their money. They've released $2.6 million more to claimants. This group includes payments to petitioners who have confirmed their Full Tilt Poker balances, petitioners who have disputed their Full Tilt account balances, and petitioners designated by Full Tilt as professionals, meaning Red Pros, friends of Full Tilt, and other players as well. So it sounds like it's coming to a close here, T. We're finally getting all this done years and years and years later. And the last to be paid are, of course, not unsurprisingly, the Red Pros.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one, even though we've seen this many times before, because it is those people, and because it is, some of these are going to be fairly large balances, right? Because you're looking at these people who got Red Pros and stuff like that. It's 2.6 million, but it's only 1,180 actual petitions. So that's an average of 2,200 per claim. Now, I don't know what the average account balance on Full Tilt was.
That's pretty high compared to the other ones. I remember the average balances in some of the other claimants being, in the hundreds of dollars.
Exactly. So there could be a couple of guys with 6-figure balances in there who have been really sweating this for a while. So it could be a big deal for a couple of people, but it's not going to be like a small deal to most people, like the last few distributions have been, I guess.
Indeed. All right, so today on the show we've got Mr. Alan Boston back for
Which means I'm just going to take the next hour off. We
have a nap.
The first question, and then we just have a nap.
No, don't do that. We need your input. We need your take on some of the stuff that Alan's going to say, because he's always a ton of fun. People love this interview. Every year, I'm just going to be on the online sportsbook typing numbers in as he talks. So we've got the NCAA tournament starting up Thursday, of course. March Madness is upon us, so our annual call to Alan's going to happen. That's going to be in the second segment. Ross, you got something to talk about, though?
I do. PLO Quick Pro. It is the number one training site for PLO players, and it's the only site with an entire suite of PLO courses designed by WSOP bracelet winner John Beaupre and 2015 5K PLO Scoop winner and many-time Supernova Elite Alien Slayer. So, over the past few years, they've successfully taught more than 1,000 players how to master the fundamentals, increase their win rate, and move up in stakes for good. So whether you're a micro stakes grinder, you're trying to become a winner, you're already a winning player and you're trying to move up stakes, and especially if you're a no-limit player looking to make the transition to PLO, they've got videos, PDFs, and tutorials to plug your leaks and look at the game in a new way. So, if you want to learn the guaranteed fastest way to become a winner at PLO, visit PLOquickpro.com/pokercast to get yourself a personalized PLO curriculum, or if you'd like to talk to John personally, it is john@PLOquickpro.com.
Fair enough. All right, coming up after the break, Alan Boston. Later in the show, we've got your emails, some Rosco hands, and some other assorted stuff to get to, so stick around. You're listening to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. More right after this.
At the 800 table, UTG min raises to 8K with 32 big blind effective. Cutoff calls with 70 big blinds, and I call with 10-9 of spades on the button with a stack of 400K. Both blinds fold. Flop comes Jack 8-6 rainbow with 1 spade. UTG bets 14K, cutoff calls, and I overcall. The turn is the ace of spade, giving me a flush draw. UTG keeps on betting, 32K this time. Cutoff calls again, and I raise to 90K. After tanking for a few minutes, UTG lets it go. Cutoff takes even longer before folding too.
Team Pro Online's Marc-Andre French Dog Ladouceur is a Supernova VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club.
Okay, people, most of the kittens have perished. There are a few left you can save, though, and here's how to do it. Get involved with the Pokercast by emailing your questions, suggestions for the show, or even record a sound clip. Adam will be using the best ones on the air. Well, let's face it, probably the worst ones as well. I can see you there at your computer. Send an email right now. Totally disagree with one of Adam's takes last week? Send an email. Love last week's interview? Email. Want to know how much cash Adam has on him right now? Email. Pokercast at 2plus2.com is the address. Ship the funny to Adam today. Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month.
Welcome back to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. This is our annual visit with Mr. Alan Dvorkis, better known as Alan Boston, friend of the show for many, many years, and has given out winner after winner. Yeah, no question. He has been flawless. I want to say he's like 8 for 8 T, somewhere in that range. Like I don't remember the last time he got one wrong. And everybody out there is just plowing on them every time he drops his bet of the first round, as well as he's even given us playing game bets before that have won. So looks like a good time to bring him back on with the tournament starting on Thursday. A quick story before we get fired up with them. He used to, for those out there who have listened to the show for more than a year and a half, since Terrence has been in the catbird seat over there. He used to tilt the heck out of MJ to no end. Like, of course, MJ is very A-type and likes the interview to go how he envisions it. And with Alan, that never happened. So he used to get really grumpy every time we'd have to do this. Not have to do it, but we'd have Alan on. But anyway, I think people could probably hear it in MJ's voice when they used to listen. T, did you catch up on that?
I didn't. I don't think I've actually listened. I've never been obviously missed out on a bunch of free money, but I've never been a college basketball fan. So I that was not one of the shows that I made sure to always catch. But obviously, I was the one penalized for it because I could have actually some extra zeros in the old bankroll if I had. So I think probably it's worth listening to this segment, even if you're like me and you don't think college hoops is the bee's knees.
You got all your questions ready for him?
Oh yeah. My question would be, Alan, what do you think about basketball?
Talk to us about basketball. That's all really you need with Alan. You can get him wound up, and he's off and running. So
I wonder if he'll be as excited as last year about the travesties committed in NCAA basketball.
So I've got 16 questions, and I have 4 or 5 more from listeners.
I like the over. I like over 2.5 or under 3.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I was going to figure out how many we'd get
somewhere about. I'm going to set the line at about 3, and I'll let you lay odds on either side.
You want me to add him to the call?
Yeah, let's do it.
Doing it live.
Doing it live. Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, wow, look at that picture.
Alan, how are you?
I'm miserable. How are you?
Good, sir. We're jumping right into it. We are recording. Welcome back to the PokerCast. Missed you, sir. Oh.
Huh?
We said we missed you. It's been a year. You moved back east, right?
You don't fucking invite me on. What do you want me to do? You didn't miss me.
Right, you moved back east. Give us an idea of how it's gone for you. You've been back there how long now?
Let's see. I survived a head-on collision 15 minutes away from arriving here. The dog survived, too. That's more important. I absolutely love the area.
Where are you?
I'm in Ridgefield, Connecticut. It borders on Westchester County. It's, I dare say, a rather high-end community.
Okay.
But they do things right. They care about the environment. It's very dog-friendly. When it snows, they have things taken care of very quickly. They use dog-friendly salt even.
Nice.
It's everyone's pleasant. Like, you come to an intersection and, you know, no one's in a rush to cut you off to get through there. They, like, flash the lights, go ahead.
Oh, nice.
No one's even giving me the finger yet. It's, like, weird.
Sounds like that Jim Carrey movie. Remember where he was in a bubble? Remember that movie where he was in? No.
Bubble Boy?
Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
No. I can't. No.
The
Truman Show.
Truman Show.
Yeah. The other half decent thing you did. Yeah, Eternal Sunshine was amazing. That was a great movie.
I have not seen that movie. I guess I got to check that out.
I can't stand him, but that was a great movie.
So have you
top 15 for sure of all time?
Was it really? Yeah, I got to check that out.
Amazing movie. I mean, it's no Boyhood, but nothing is.
Boyhood's a fantastic movie. Yeah. You moved back there now.
That trilogy? You see that trilogy that they did with the Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight?
In Boyhood?
No,
I saw Before Sunrise. I didn't see Before Sunset, but I didn't really like Before Sunrise that much.
Wow.
Don't know that one.
Okay.
I'm just a heartless person.
No, it's weird that you didn't like it. It's really it was amazing. Just
I know everybody says
beyond
it's great,
brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. I want to ask you about some poker, Alan. We were a poker show.
I'm not a poker player. You know that.
You are a poker player. You moved back there. Have you found some games? Obviously, 7-card stud, your forte.
I went and played 3 times. I won all 3 times, but I misjudged the distance. It said 90 miles from here to Foxwoods. I'm not familiar with this area at all. I'm a New Englander, but I'm northern New England, not here.
Okay.
And so I figured, okay, you know, I'll go make the trip and drop the dog off. I found a good dog sitter. He actually owns a Great Dane. He's on Rover.com. And right on the way, actually, I can go to Mystic, Connecticut, and right there. It's a few minutes out of the way, but it's fine. But it's a 2-fucking-hour ride.
Oh.
And, you know, it's just unbearable. So I tried doing the basketball again, and it hasn't been very successful. And I'm probably going to have to move closer to the casino, which sucks because I actually enjoy living here. There's a local There's 2 local venues that have unbelievable music from my era. Daryl's House, which is on, I think, the Palladium Network or something like that. They actually have a show from there. And the Ridgefield Playhouse, which is the reason I moved here. And I've seen some amazing shows here since I've been here.
Need to hear about those. Give me the rundown. Who's come through that town?
I saw John Anderson and Jean-Luc Ponty. John Anderson, lead singer from Yes. Jean-Luc Ponty, legendary violinist. They always wanted to perform together, so in their 70s they got together. I saw the Zombies, and actually I saw the Zombies as the Originals.
The original band was there?
Original band, and they had never played Odyssey and Oracle, which is like their seminal album.
Okay.
Because they had broken up before it came out, and then it got rave reviews, and they never ever performed that album as a group. One of the group members passed away, but the other 4 were still there. So Chris White, who wrote a lot of the music and had not performed on stage since the 60s, the show at Ridgefield was their first show together back, and they did the whole Odyssey and Oracle. And one of the great songs in Odyssey and Oracle is it's called The Butcher's Tale, and it's an anti-war song, of course. And they actually brought out like a 1940s pipe organ. And
wow.
Rod Argent, who was later in a group called Argent, who did that song "Hold Your Head Up,"
Sure. Yeah.
But he played the pipe organ, and Chris White sang the song, and it was I still have chills from it. It was amazing. I'm pushing hard for Callum Graham, who's a Canadian guitarist. He won the Canadian Guitar Festival. He's brilliant.
Okay.
Best guitarist I've heard in maybe in my life. Unbelievably talented kid. So I'm pushing for him to get to one of these venues. He's got an album coming out soon, and so I'm pulling for up north.
Nice.
I saw Dick Dave Davies from the Kinks.
Oh, yeah. Ray Davies.
I saw Dave Davies, his brother.
Oh, okay.
Ray did the writing. Ray did the singing. Dave did a lot of the writing. He can't sing a lick, but it didn't matter. The music is so fucking good. The Kinks are unbelievable.
Did they play? They played Kinks tunes.
What?
They played all the Kinks tunes.
He played none of the popular ones, and that's what made it so cool.
Nice.
Recently, I saw Todd Rundgren.
Oh yeah,
who's a legend, and I saw an evening with Joel Grey. He's Broadway, and that was actually pretty shoddy. Okay. And I saw the Black Box reenact maybe the great prog rock album of all time, Selling England by the Pound, early Genesis.
Okay, sure.
Just has a song called Cinema Show on there that I can't even listen to while I'm in the car because I'm liable to get in an accident. It just has just sheer beauty. Anyway, that's some of the shows I've seen, and I've seen many more.
Did they roll through Foxwoods as well?
Because basketball, I just have to skip several. But
do they go to hit Foxwoods for those gigs too? Probably.
No.
Oh, they don't. So
Foxwoods had Ian Anderson, Jethro Tull, and they had I don't know. They had a couple things that seemed okay, but
it's hard to live close to there, right? Because it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, is there somewhere close that you can?
Westerly, Rhode Island, I think is where my friend who knows me well says. I love Westerly. It's a half hour from Foxwoods, and Mystic, Connecticut's 15 minutes from there. There's some areas you live in.
And there's games, 7-card stud. Give us a rundown of what's going on there.
Foxwoods has 2-5 no limit with a 500 cap, which is not the game I would like to play because I like to play a style that requires very deep stacks. That's what the kid helped me learn.
Right.
Because he's constantly putting a lot of raises in, and you don't have room to make a small raise, to threaten your whole stack. Some would call it leveraging. We just call it logic. I know the kids have a name for every fucking thing they do, which is just absurd. It's just playing poker. It's not some stop and go or whatever the fuck they call all that nonsense. Anyway, so the games are super easy. I mean, there's no downside. The 20-40 stud game is very easy. There are actually a few guys that actually can play pretty good, but they're not going to beat me anyway, so I'm not worried about it. Not bragging. That's just the truth.
Right.
Really not bragging. I just do play that game really well, which would shock some.
I don't think it shocks anybody. You were a Red Pro at Full Tilt and played.
So what? The Red Pros basically sucked on Full Tilt. I mean, most of them couldn't play a lick. So, the 50-cent a dollar players would slaughter most of the Red Pros on there. That's the truth.
Okay.
A lot of the Red Pros were on there too early, before the kids had a chance to get better, and invariably they were very weak players. You think Mike Matterhouse's a great poker player? No. I love Mike. He's an absolute sweetheart, biggest heart in the world. He's not a great poker player. He probably does a lot of things good in tournaments, but in
especially
cash,
not online.
Slaughtered.
Especially online cash is probably the worst thing for Mattisau, from my personal experience.
He's such a nice kid, but it's just not his gig. And he was one of the better Red Pros. So there you go. They had people on there who just couldn't play a lick, but they had some success early on in the game, and got hired.
Right.
You're talking Huxley, you're talking a different animal. He's probably the best all around player there is. I don't know the young kids who play now, and I don't play tournaments really much anymore, and don't figure to from Connecticut either. But when I was somewhat in the game, Huck was the man to me. He was the best all-around player, and I don't think that probably changed by much. And that included Ivy, by the way. Huck had a little more ability than him, I thought, which is really saying something. Although I heard Ivy doesn't do too good anymore, so there you go. That's just the rumor. Being a Red Pro on Full Tilt was no big deal. I turned it down at first because I told Howard I'm not a fucking poker player. I'm a sports bettor. I would not be known on that as that. I have no experience at all in no limit hold'em, and that's the flavor of the month. And I said, you know what? And he said, come on, Boston, it'd be a good job. I think he just wanted me included. He's a friend of mine. He wanted me included. And I said, you know what? Set up a cheap stud table, and I'll be your 7-card stud pro. That I can at least have some relevance to. I've made 1 million final tables at studs, and at least, it's something people do and know I do play well, and I'd love to teach it. And you know what? I can honestly say I had kind of a regular crew in that 2-4 stud game, and every one of them to a T got better at that game.
Because you helped them during hands and stuff.
I would tell them what I had during the hands and tell them what I was thinking, tell them what I thought they had and why. And if you can't learn with someone, just talking logically to you, then you're never going to learn. And they all learned. And I did a stud video on there. I thought that was fantastic. With it, I explained why you have to bet one pair in the river, and people actually got it. I got excited people. Boston, I bet one pair in the river and got called, and it was good. Like, yeah, right. And stuff that's pretty basic, but not because it's a game that's not played anymore. Interestingly enough, because of my no limit experience and discussing it with someone who was really talented and who I learned a lot from, I actually tweaked my stud game quite a bit. I would never 3-bet 3 flushes, and I do that now. In fact, I 3-bet my whole range. If I'm not in, I'm not. If I'm not in, I'm not. If I'm not raising, I'm not in the pot.
And on 3rd Street, you're talking about.
That's pretty on almost any street, to be honest with you. But on 3rd Street, yeah. I mean, basically, if you're playing poker and calling, I don't think you're doing a very good job. And I think that's the hole in most of the kids that I see on TV is they like to do a lot of calling. And when you do a lot of calling, you're doing a lot of guessing on the river. But no one's come out with some article on why small raises can be so effective, so it's not the flavor of the month. It's like this poker is like this Pied Piper community. Like, I used to get laughed at for raising like 2.2. Well, what are they doing now? We got laughed at. The kid got laughed at. He said, what are you making a 1/3 pot continuation bet for? Well, what are they doing now, They're not open-minded at all until someone they respect does something that makes sense to them or is deemed correct. That's now the flavor of the month. That's now the way you're supposed to play. They say there's a 100% proper way of playing. Someone was talking about that one night at dinner. I think I was with you. And I was like horrified. Like, how can there be a 100% proper way of playing when player A plays different than player B, then plays different than player C? If player A is 3-betting you every single time you open, you certainly have to play different than against player B who's calling you every time you open.
Right.
There's no perfect strategy. That's just a bunch of fucking horseshit. And now you're going to hear the comments, well, Boston's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, wrong.
No.
Wrong, all you narrow-minded fucks out there who think because there's one way of doing things, that's the right way. No. Open up your minds, experiment, try everything. There's no right or wrong to anything.
Yeah, everybody who
nothing can beat pure logic. By the way,
they make their way in the game. They change how they play, and people follow them. It's like you say, it does.
It's a Pied Piper world, right?
It does become that way. I've been following your Twitter. I've noticed you're active discussing with Daniel Negreanu on some level the Poker Hall of Fame, and because Daniel,
someone mentioned to me that I actually got a phone call. I don't follow Daniel at all on Twitter, nor would I want to.
You only follow like 12 people. You've got like 7,000 people following you, and you follow 12 people.
I used to follow like one, and I've upped my ante, but I'll be eliminating them because I really don't. My tweets have not been very. My tweet picks have been terrible this year, and that's kind of the reason I got on Twitter. I got on Twitter to send a message to someone in Europe, by the way, and then all of a sudden some people started following me. I said, well, how could people follow me? I didn't ask them to follow me. I didn't understand how the thing worked. And then I did a podcast with Chad Millman. He said, yeah, that's really Boston. And then they had like 2,500 followers. And then I did this radio show in Memphis. And they said, yeah, that's really Boston. Now I got like 5,000 followers. And then the followers just kept like piling on. Like, all right, I'll try to put some tout service out of business. And the first couple of years I had like 60% winners on there. But it just hasn't. It hasn't been very flowing the last couple of years, and I have not been very good. And
does it get to you the way the negativity a little bit, and guys probably losing their money, getting upset with you?
I haven't read the comments all year, but no, I never really had a problem with that. Everyone was pretty. I had a band, I think 5 people in 3 years. That's pretty strong for someone with 7,000 plus followers.
Yep.
So I guess in that regard, I got to pat myself on the back a little bit. But this year, I'm sure they're motherfucking me to no end. I haven't had too many winners on there. I didn't. It got so bad, and I went 0-3 one night, on Twitter, and I actually had like not a bad night. I probably broke even or won a little. And I was so upset I couldn't sleep all night. And I said, what am I doing this for? This is just not worth it. Because I really do care about what I put on there. And it almost parallels my being that red pro on Full Tilt that actually cared. In spite of the fact that I was abused unrelentingly, I still interacted with everybody because that was my job. The job was to learn, chat, and play with the pros. And I sure as shit made sure I was going to do that. So,
all right, Hall of Fame, Negreanu, give us your take.
Oh, yeah, so, Negreanu. So a friend calls, says, because I had talked to my friend about, Artie Kopp really needs to be in the Hall of Fame. And his wife had mentioned to me, do you know anyone that could help? Because Artie has not been feeling well lately, and she wants to get this done just in case. He's in his 70s, and
yeah.
It is time to start thinking about something.
Artie has, 5 bracelets, I want to say?
He has 4 bracelets. He's cashed for 5 consecutive decades.
Wow.
I think he's final tabled 5 consecutive decades. Most recently, some Stud 8 or better thing that we were partners in. I believe that was in the 2010. So
Artie was a cash game player, was he, most of his life?
Artie played, stud cash. He started off at the Sahara in the 70s with Danny Robeson. When Danny started, and all the great stud players who are all leaving us. It's sad. I heard during the stud tournament that Tommy Kress passed away, and he was my hero. Him and Danny were like my 2 stud heroes, and it was
they're both gone.
It was horrifying actually, because I had just seen him at breakfast 2 weeks earlier, and we talked for a long time. I was like, geez, it really happened. But I'm old, and I was the kid playing stud.
The Hall of Fame process is so strange with poker. You talk about who's in there and who isn't in there. And every Hall of Fame has that person you look at and you go, wait, that person's in there, and, this player over here isn't in it, if it's a sports thing. Poker is no different. It seems completely arbitrary, who gets put in there. If you're a buddy of Doyle's, you get in there pretty easily. If Caesars doesn't like you, you don't. It's this weird, goofy system they have.
I have no idea how it works, but when Tom McAvoy's put in there, I know it has no relevance because he has no relevance.
Yeah, I mean, nice enough guy.
I won't go any further. I'm not going to start bad-mouthing the guy, but he does deserve it. So I assure you.
Well,
anyway.
Hopefully people, suggest that to the powers that be that maybe Artie Kopp can.
I called Nolan Dollar up. I can't do any better than that. I'm not really in the loop. I guess I could call Daniel up and mention it to him, but I don't know how much influence he has on Hall of Fame stuff. Other than that, I guess I could call Jennifer too, but they might be able to get the word out, but I know Jennifer would be an Artie fan. I don't know how well Daniel knows Artie. Daniel's a little before Artie's time. I mean, a little after Artie's time, but Artie actually ran, when Eric Drake ran the early 70s horseshoes, the first few years of it, Artie was the one that ran it when Eric wasn't around.
I see.
So Artie has been a part of this thing since day one and continues to be a part of it, continues to play tournaments, 4 bracelets, cashed I don't know how many times, probably some record number of times. Yes, he's mostly a limit poker player, but he's won no-limit tournaments in Ireland and other parts of the planet, back when he was younger. And most of the guys in there are one-trick ponies anyway. There's very few great all-around players, right? Because limit poker is not a popular art form. I guess it's picking up, but
yeah, it's one of those things where
no limit's gotten so tough. I mean, basically people know how to play. They all read the same shit, and they all play the same way, and they all call their money off. And I wish I had gotten involved with it, and I wish I had. Not that I might have gotten any good on my own. Like I really wasn't any good, and I still killed the cash games when I first started, just on instinct, just because I had played so much stud, and logically my mind does work. I destroyed those games early on. But I would have had no chance online. The online kids, were infinitely far ahead of me, and it's just, matter they get 87 million reps in compared to two reps an hour.
Right.
They're playing 87 tables at once and getting 87 trillion hands out at once, and they're a lot younger and their minds are a lot more open, and there was probably some just complete animals when that started. You know, the kids are a little smarter and figured out things a little quicker. That if you don't have it, you can really make their lives miserable. My young friend Mitch made it so if they didn't have it, his small raise would make their lives miserable. That was the beauty of what he did. I really watched him in awe. Some of the stuff he did, where he just threatened their whole stack with the smallest of raises if he didn't think they had it. And it was a much more effective way than just, you know, shoving it all in there to see if they had it or not. Anyway, I got sidetracked, but yeah, I think I'm surprised that poker is still going as strong as it is. I really am. I thought the money would have dried up. They rake so much out of these tournaments. Everyone's gotten pretty good at it. The novelty's worn off to a lot of the people. You know, I play a little on black chip, and the games suck.
Really?
They really do. However, the games at Foxwoods do not suck. And I do plan on moving, as much as I'm dreading it, because I really do love living here. But you gotta eat. So my next move is closer to Foxwoods to go beat up on some 20-40 stud players and maybe a little higher if I feel up to it.
How close can you actually live to
play a little 2-5 no limit? I just hate that 500 cap because it you know, if you're constantly three betting, constantly check raising, and it just there's not a lot of wiggle room there.
And let's talk about some basketball. First, I want to. There's a lot of people listening to our show aren't going to know a lot about how the selection process goes. I know it's I know it gets you going, but for those that don't know, give us an idea exactly what the whole process is as far as the selection committee for the 64 teams in the March Madness NCAA tournament.
Well, they now have 68, which is ridiculous. It's the only championship where some teams are required to win one more game than others.
The play-in games.
What?
The play-in games you're talking about.
Right. Completely absurd. They claim they help the mid-majors, but in fact they help the big boys. Everything they do helps the big boys. Everything they do is it's another corrupt thing. It's never come out. It's never been talked about. But I assure you that it's corrupt because I actually do know who the good teams are. I actually do know how they should be seeded. I don't know how their process works.
Who's the committee?
Really
who are they?
What?
Who is the committee that makes the decisions?
They change periodically. They're definitely athletic directors at various schools.
So they're biased. Right off the top, they're biased.
From a mixed bag. What?
Yeah, right off the top, they're biased.
But they get them from a mixed bag. They don't just take them from, like, you know, the big name schools. They get them from smaller schools too. And they may have people who've been, you know, involved in a game, like an Eddie Fogler, who was a former coach for many years and a very knowledgeable guy. They may have people like that also involved. I'm not sure. I know what they do, and what they end up with is completely ridiculous and completely rigged and has been for years. And this year they just said, you know, well, we don't even care how obvious we're going to fuck people over. We're just going to do it. And, you know, it's like a microcosm of the government. When the B is on the television contract, as in $1 billion contract, you know, evil's going to happen. Anytime there's money involved, evil happens. You know, if the game's big enough in poker, someone's going to try to cheat it. It's just the way it is. It only takes one bad apple to fuck up all the good. And when money gets involved, I was told at a very young age that the problem with politics is you can go in with all the best of intentions, and then let's say there's this empty lot on the corner that happens to be near a church, and it's been zoned not to allow to have a bar there because it's too close to a church or a temple or whatever. And the guy says, well, you know, I can get you $50,000 if you can get that zoning law changed. And the guy says, I can't do it. And the guy says, well, maybe I get you $100,000. And the guy says, I can't do it. But when the guy says, I can get you $500,000, and now the guy says, well, let me see what I can do. I mean, you know, at some point, the most honorable of people break when it comes to money. I mean, it's life-changing money and big deal. So we put a bar near a church, big fucking deal, you know. And that's how the whole thing starts. And once you've corrupted yourself like that, you're free game. And there's very, very few straight shooters in politics. And the whole setup is made for corruption. And that's because they tax the living shit out of us. And we're too stupid to vote libertarian. And they don't allow libertarians to even enter the fray anyway. So, the whole process is rigged to start.
So you're saying the schools get money for being in the tournament, right? They get a percentage of the TV revenue. Is that how it works? And they get all the money?
Yeah. Conferences get a part of it, and the schools get a part of it, and it's giant money. So they want to get the money to the right places. They want to get money to the schools that play on their networks, or will do them a favor and play a game that maybe they wouldn't want to play, or I don't know, whatever it is. But I know certain teams get the breaks all the time. It's like a good old boy network, It sucks.
So what's the best way to do it then? If this isn't the best way to select the 64 teams, what would you suggest is the better way? Well,
they have besides calling me and asking me who the top 100 teams are, which isn't a stupid idea. I do it for a living. I know who the top 100 teams are, and I'm not saying to use that as the do-all, end-all, but at least it gives them a better idea of the relative strength of the team, and then whatever nonsense that they come up with that they deem relevant to seed teams, they can take it from there. But they now have these Ken Pomeroy ratings, which are very good. They've always had these Jeff Sagarin ratings, which have been very good also. So they've had power ratings, which are, the relative strength of a team. It's like a golf handicap. You're a scratch golfer, you're better than a 3 handicap. So if you're a 78 in my power ratings, you're 3 points better than a 75. So you could actually see who the best teams are and seed it more appropriately, or let the right teams in. Instead of having Gonzaga down there as an 11 seed when they'd be favored over a 3 seed, and favored over several of the 4 seeds, and favored over 5 seeds, and favored over all of the 6 seeds, and favored over 3 out of the 4 7 seeds, and favored over all the 8 seeds. It's wrong. To have Wichita State, who I have as the 8th best team in the country, maybe even the 7th. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have them tied for 8th. Tied for the 8th best team in the country.
And they weren't even in the tournament. They had to play their way in.
They have a play-in game against a team who's in the top 20. Vanderbilt was an excellent team. They had a terrible record this year, so they were never going to get a good seed, and they didn't deserve it, to be honest with you. But they're a very good team. That's why sometimes, a guy could get drawn out in poker and lose 5 straight times and be the greatest player in the world. He got it in as a 2-1 favorite and lost. And, Tennessee, Vanderbilt might have run into some teams that shot the ball extremely well against them that night, or they just shot poorly at the wrong times. They just didn't have a good record this year, but they were a very good team. They kind of mailed it in when they made the big run, and Wichita rebelled it, and they chucked it at the end. That wasn't an 18-point game. That was a much closer game than that. But yeah, Wichita, who I have, and I know what I'm doing. Pick a winner or not, I know I know how to rate a team. So let's say I'm slightly off and they're the 10th best team in the country. So if you go, 4 different groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 1 seeds, 4 2 seeds, that makes them a 3 seed. That doesn't make them a fucking 11 seed getting in a fucking play-in game to play Arizona, a 6 seed who should be about a 3 seed. The whole process is their draw is so brutal. Wichita State, they had to beat Vanderbilt, a good team. If they win, they play Arizona, who's a top 15 team at worst. If they win that game, they play Miami of Florida, who is a top 10 team. If they win that game, they play Villanova, who's a 1 team, the best team in the country.
They got to beat everybody.
And if they win that team, they play Kansas, who's one of the best teams in the country, top 4. That's their draw. For being the 10th best team in the country, they have to play 6 top 10 teams in a row. 1 top 20 team and 5 top 10 teams. That's to make the Final Four. It's ridiculous.
Okay, here's what I don't understand. Explain this to me. We have two teams, you mentioned them, Wichita State and Vanderbilt today, playing in. And so for me, not really understanding exactly how it works, I would think that the play-in game would become a 16 seed because they weren't good enough to get in the tournament to begin with. So they're going to be, in the last spot in the tournament. They're playing to get into the last spot. Now, when Wichita State wins, now they go to an 11 seed. I'm thinking, well, what about the 12 seed? Why are they going to an 11 seed when the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 seeds, clearly they're better than?
I have no idea.
There's no explanation.
I can't explain it to you.
Wow.
I think they're the last. I think they were the last at-large teams in, maybe, and they just did it that way. And the last at-large team in was still good enough to be an 11 seed because certain teams win conference tournaments and they automatically get in. And the at-large teams are going to be better than a lot of those conference winners because the conference winners are kind of often from pretty weak conferences. So I think that's what it is. I think they were If Wichita was one of the last teams in, that just shows you how silly it all is.
So, is there something to the
10th best team in the country is one of the last teams let in. So, it's just they don't know what they're either they're really stupid, or it's rigged, or a combination of both. So let's be nice and go with a combination of both. But I'm thinking that the thing is very corrupt.
Well,
Duke has the easiest draw imaginable.
The narrative always every year is, we've got these Cinderella teams. Yeah, they're a 16, 15 seed, but wow, it's a little small school. Look at them. They get to go to the tournament. They're going to get hammered in the first round probably, but it's almost part of the narrative every year of these Cinderella teams. So at the expense of some of these better teams, like I guess Vanderbilt this year, they put in these Cinderella teams for the story, I guess. So it isn't the best 64 teams in the country. They're trying to build a narrative around it.
The conference tournament winners automatically get in, so it's not going to always be the top 64 teams. It's the teams that get what's called at-large bids, who haven't won their conference tournaments, who haven't got the automatic bid, that they go off on, that they're wrong on, because the other ones are automatic bids. So they get the wrong at-large teams in, and then they misseed them completely. You're right. The Cinderella story is what really made this tournament so wonderful.
Right.
When Gonzaga was Cinderella, that's all that was talked about. The Princeton-Georgetown game of the early 90s, when Princeton was a 16 seed, which, by the way, changed a lot of things. The Ivy League was about to not get an automatic bid, and I would not have been happy about that, obviously. But when Princeton took Georgetown to the wire, they said, well, we can't take the automatic bid away from the Ivy League school now, and they think they went to somewhere else. That's when they came up with the play-in game. That Princeton-Georgetown game created a play-in game, and then they made it worse from there. And, but there's billion dollars in the TV contracts, so they have that in the back of their minds at all times. That's the problem with money. So they fuck up the at-large teams. And back to the point of Cinderella, my mind starts going crazy here because I get so mad at this. Cinderella, so the Princeton-Georgetown game was the highest rated game ever on ESPN. The Cinderella story is always a story that's talked about. When George Mason made the Final Four,
right.
When VCU made the Final Four, they talk about this nonstop. It's a great story. So what bugs me a little bit is if Cinderella is so wonderful, why is and believe me, the draw is always rigged to knock the Cinderella teams out. They make it brutal on some of these good schools that come from lesser conferences. Every year they make it brutal on them. And I guess the money getting to the right places is more important than a slightly higher TV rating or a good story. Because who gives a fuck about the good story when the money doesn't go to the right places? So when they say money is the root of all evil, I think that was kind of cliche, but it's probably pretty accurate.
One of the other questions sent in by one of our listeners was how difficult it is for a team like Nevada, where they have to pay a decent Division I school $60,000 or something to come to Reno to play a regular season game. And, of course, they can't afford to do that all season, so they end up filling their schedule with some Division II teams, and they beat them, but their record now doesn't mean anything because they didn't pay all these people to come play them.
Right. That's another flaw in the system is they allow the power conferences, and it's all self-perpetuating, right? If all that money goes to those schools, they can still afford to pay the pay games to the lesser schools, and don't have to go to their gym in return. Yeah, obviously there's got to be some rule made up to change this whole process, but they're not interested in doing that because right now they have it all locked up, and they're all in cahoots. I'm sure ESPN and NBC, whoever does this every year, they're all in cahoots with the big name schools and amongst each other, and they make sure that the money goes to the right spots. So you're right. The Cinderella stories have always been what's made this such an intriguing tournament. It's made it so big, really. Cinderella's made this tournament big. That and some great basketball. That and the whole brouhaha with brackets and ESPN did their 24 hours of the first round. They put it on the map and they simultaneously ruined it because it got so big and so popular that now it's not about right. It's not about. Well, the whole college basketball game is ridiculous. I mean, these one and done things are ridiculous. Baseball, to play college baseball, you play 3 years or you play none. If you don't play 3 years in college, you can't get a pro contract. So that's your choice. You go to college for 3 years or you sign directly out of high school. Basketball should do something similar because the whole one and done thing just makes a mockery of what college athletics is supposed to be about.
They don't get any.
When I was a kid, was you went to college, you got an education, and you played a game you love as a bonus. And now it's, and I'll let you talk in a second, now it's, come play basketball, and who gives a fuck if you get a degree? It's, it's about let's make money for our school. And it's just all wrong.
That's the biggest problem because it doesn't pass the smell test. Like you send a kid to college to a really good school because he's good at basketball. Maybe he gets some fair weather treatment in his classes, getting in, whatever. And he's there for a year, doesn't learn a thing, and he's really just playing to get to the NBA and for the exposure and not really to learn anything. So, and you don't pay these guys.
Right, but they shouldn't get paid. They're supposed to go to college to learn.
No, yeah, but I'm saying
the bonus is they only have to go for half a year because if they're coming out after a year, who cares if they fail every class? Because basketball's over by then. So they don't even have to go to class the second semester. So they have to go to half a year of college. The whole thing is a fucking atrocity. I mean, it's a tragedy. It's ridiculous. It's just corrupt. There's no other words. They're after these kids when they're in 9 years old and Nike showing them cards of them, here with playing in the NBA with with a Michael Jordan shirt on or with their name in the back of it. I mean, it's just horrible. It's horrible. And as a result, I just finished reading this book called Missoula, Missoula is where the University of Montana is. There was a famous rape trial up there. Many football players had been accused of it, and a girl finally came out and said, all right, I'm pressing charges. And the book was written about the battles up there where these football players have free reign to do what they want, including rape women, which is obviously pretty horrifying. And then they get away with it. And the girls are the bad guys. So the book called Missoula is very enlightening in what happens when you make heroes out of 9-year-old kids and they're pampered till they're 18, 19, 20 years old. But guess what happens when things don't work out for sports, afterwards? You got one fucked up society. And that's where we're at in this country. Everything's really gone wrong in the last 15 years or so.
All right,
so I'm glad I'm getting old. I'm glad I'll be dead soon.
You're healthier than anybody I've ever met, dude. You're gonna outlive me, I'm sure.
What?
I said you're one of the healthiest guys I've ever come across. You're in super shape. You'll outlive everybody. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm a little fatter now. I was in good shape at one time, but I've gotten a little heavy. I do have a documentary coming out. Of course, when he filmed it, it's when I was at my fucking fattest. I mean, when I was in killer shape, I could have modeled underwear. I mean, maybe I could have been the senior model underwear guy. That's one thing about modeling underwear. You ever notice no fat guys ever model underwear? It's fucked up. I mean, like, it's anyway.
I model underwear for my wife every day. Fat guy.
There you go.
What's the documentary?
Unfortunately, they're not signing you for some.
No, they're not.
Contract. Yeah, I always thought that was a little weird. I said, "Geez, what's that?"
What's the documentary?
Good shape that wears underwear. I'm not that guy. I became that guy, but damn.
Is it sports betting related? The documentary?
What?
Is it sports betting related? The documentary you said coming out?
Oh yeah, it's called The Best of It. Yeah, a guy filmed. He filmed it based on this little interaction that occurred between me and this other idiot, and a real idiot. And I mean, if you think I'm an idiot, this guy is sub-moron. So, it's called The Best of It. It comes out like within a week or two, I think. Direct to video. It actually made the last 100 of the Southwest Film Festival and the Austin Film Festival. If it ever made either one of those, that would have really been cool. He showed me a copy because I had to do the voiceover, and all I talked about was how fucking fat I was. I couldn't stomach it. Actually, I could stomach it. It was a pretty big stomach, but
what's it about?
It's about it's a character study, actually. I mean, it's involves a couple gamblers, a few gamblers in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Me being one of them. And I sort of got attacked from a tout, not really a gambler, because touts aren't gamblers. And he filmed the story based around that interaction.
I see.
He did a great job. I mean, it's actually, I didn't want to watch it, but he said you have to because you have to do the voiceover, the commentary for the DVD. I said, okay. And I watched it, and it's actually very good. It's very entertaining. And I told him, I said, wow, that's fantastic. Because I never would have dreamed that anyone would give two fucks, first of all, about what I said, or, you know, I'm not some Brad Pitt lookalike for sure. And, you know, who the fuck wants to look at me or Dinky, who's the other guy in it, Alan Dinkinson, and the Shrink and Len Banker, yeah. So that's
I think people have proved they want to hear
mainly me. So
no, I mean the book,
good.
The Odds, is great.
It's good. It was really good. I'm happy I did it. I never was one to stick my chest out. I actually said no to The Odds when Chad first asked me to do it.
That's the book, The Odds, by Chad Millman. Yeah. Fantastic book.
I actually said no to that originally, and then I read his first book, and I called him up. I said, okay, we got to tweak a couple things here, and he did. I asked him to leave a couple things out, and he did. But I was then offered a reality show by ESPN where they'd follow me around, and I turned that down, and I guess I kind of regret it now, but I put all my eggs in one basket. I put my eggs into this house, and you know, the house went from $3 million to $1 million, and there you go. You know, you're dead when you still have a mortgage to pay and still have to move, and now your bankroll is dwindled to next to nothing, and now you're gonna end up playing 2-5 no limit with a bunch of boring people, and I'll probably turn to drugs to get through the sessions. That's my guess for my future. I'm looking at being a future drug addict rather than a future health nut.
Real quick, I was looking around, and the trailer is actually for people who are interested. It's out on there. There's a 3-minute trailer, the Best of It official trailer, and
Netflix.
A little description. No, just the trailer.
No, right? But where are we gonna? Is it gonna be released on Netflix, or where are we gonna find it?
It's gonna be on Netflix eventually. I just kind of did it just because the guy asked me 100 times, and I said, I guess it's no big deal. Yeah, I really didn't even believe it was going to be a documentary until he showed it to me. So he keeps me updated, but I don't really listen because it doesn't matter. What the hell difference does it make? You know, if I'm asked to do an interview, I'll do it. If it actually does do well, it's going direct to video. That's all I know. I don't know what that means. Maybe you could buy it on iTunes. I honestly don't know. I'm not hip with modern culture. So
No, I think you're right. I think that's how it's going to be found. Netflix, iTunes. That's how the.
It's going to be on Netflix eventually. I do know that.
Yeah.
Not immediately.
Okay.
I think Netflix signed it on for I don't know.
All right. Let's get on to this year's tournament.
It'll be cool.
Alan, I want to ask you.
It's worth watching. I'm telling you, it's worth watching.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely watch it.
So all you poker players, have an open mind. Fuck what everyone else does. Experiment. Think about things.
All right, there's a lot of pressure on you, Alan. You've come on the show for years and years and years, and you're perfect. You've never got one wrong that I can remember. I honestly don't remember you missing a first round, lock of the first round, or your playing games you even got right. So let's get to this year's tournament. A few ways I want to approach this. First, I want to ask you, if this tournament was, let's say it's run 1,000 times, like who's going to win this tournament the most often, regardless of what the odds are? Like who is going to win this tournament the most often?
Oh, wow. I'd have to, let me pull up a bracket just so, this will take 1 second to pull the bracket up. I have no idea who's playing who, or nor did I fill out a bracket. Let's see, 2016. Let's see. I'm getting good at my internet searches.
You're Googling?
Yeah, brilliant. Printable NCAA tournament bracket. Wow, look at me.
Boom.
All right, we have a bracket. I don't have a picture of Terrence Chan and Ross Henry anymore, but oh, there you are. All right,
got it.
I have my Terrence Chan picture up here.
Gotta have that.
So. Well, I know who's talking. I don't know. Ross Henry talks more often than Terrence Chan. That's what it looks like.
So that would be Adam.
No, that's me. It's you know, he knows me.
That's Adam?
Yeah.
Is that Negreanu in the background of your picture?
Apparently, yeah.
Of who? My picture?
It's me.
Oh,
no, it's Ross's picture. It's when we're in Toronto and Negreanu's at the background. So
oh, I see.
That's a Skype profile picture.
It's my Twitter one, too. People want to creep it.
Yeah, you know, I got written up at this year's 10,000 stud tournament because Daniel came to my table.
Did he?
Oh, yeah, that was my big write-up. I got mentioned. See, I'm famous in poker news.
You told me you weren't going to play it.
Daniel came over. He said, "Boston, where the fuck you been?" Like, and Huck's there. Well, he's only played every stud tournament for the last 50 years, Daniel. You know, like, who took all your chips, Boston? Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Because Daniel proceeds to sit down and win like 15 hands in a row. He got hit with more hands than I've had in the last 10 years.
Runs good.
In the half hour at the table. It was unbelievable. He only misplayed a few of them, though. I'll give him credit. He's gotten better at stud.
Okay.
He's still pretty bad, but he's gotten better. All right, so looking at this bracket real quick, I'll try to look at it real quick and
sure.
I kind of like it West Virginia to win the whole thing. That's kind of who I like at the start, but
so that's West Virginia most likely to win, you would say?
That was my pick, but I tend to pick like a long shot.
Yeah. So that's value. You're talking value now, right?
I'm talking value. Yeah. They also didn't get a bad draw. They got a kind of a tough first round game, but not a bad second round game, and not a bad third round game, and potentially not a bad fourth round game. So I think West Virginia has an excellent chance to win, and I would be the only one. I would be the only one on the planet probably saying that they're most likely to win the most, but I'll stick with that because
16 to 1. Okay, there's some value there.
I really do. The problem is the best team like North Carolina is completely clueless, and at some point their stupidity will get them beat. And ditto Kansas with that retard Bill Self coaching them. At some point their stupidity will get them. Duke is a notch below those teams, so their stupidity will really get them at some point.
And they got a tough draw, right? Duke got a really tough draw.
Duke got the cupcake draw. They got the easiest draw imaginable.
I know they're your favorite team to rail on.
They got a first round team. They got a. Sometimes they have first round games that the other team plays with intelligence and knocks them out, a la Lehigh, a la Mercer. Teams that are super smart half court basketball teams. But they changed it to a 30-second clock this year, which makes it harder on the underdog. And they gave Duke a first-round matchup when NC Wilmington was completely clueless and will not get Duke in some half-court game that they won't be able to handle. And Duke should really kill them. I actually like Duke in the first round. For one of the first times in my life, I like Duke in the first round.
Okay.
And then after that, they get the winner of Baylor and Yale, who would be at the bottom of let's see, what bracket is the Kansas bracket? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10. Baylor would be the 11th best team in that bracket, but they're a 5 seed. So they get the winner of Baylor and Yale. Yale they've already beaten, but that was after Yale went to SMU and almost beat them at the wire. So you can toss that game a little bit. Plus it was at Duke. I actually think Yale's going to beat Baylor in the first round, which is going to make Duke a pretty big favorite in the second round. The 1 seed in that in Duke's bracket is Oregon, who should be a 3 seed. They're the only 1 seed that's not legit. Who else is Duke playing? Duke actually has a chance, because the draw is so easy. I think Yale has a good chance to beat them. But let's see, Duke plays Wilmington, then Yale, then Oregon potentially, and Oklahoma's on the bottom half of that, right? So there's really no one really tough on that whole Texas A&M's okay. That bracket is very, very super easy. So I guess someone from that bracket has a good chance too, because they're gonna have a pretty easy time to go through there. So I guess Oklahoma has a good chance because they're in that Duke bracket and they're the best team in that bracket. Oklahoma and Oregon are the 2 best teams in that bracket.
Okay.
I don't think Kansas. Well, they got an easy. They got an easy draw. They stacked the opposite Kansas side with the most brutal 8 teams: Arizona, Wichita, Miami of Florida, Buffalo, Iowa, Temple, Villanova, and NC Asheville. So the opposite side of the Kansas bracket has Arizona, Miami, Iowa, Villanova, and Wichita. They have 5 top 15 teams.
Wow.
Out of 8.
That's nuts.
Meanwhile, on Kansas' side, they have Maryland. They have Connecticut and Cal, too. They're pretty good, but
So they got to walk to the 16.
They got a pretty easy first few rounds, but
okay.
I don't know if there's plenty of time in between. So the teams that they're playing on the other side, even though they have tough games, they have plenty of rest to get through it. So they'll be facing someone very good on to get to the Final Four. So I can't pick them. They're so stupid. They play with such stupidity. It's just so. Let's see, West Virginia. Who's in this bracket?
Oklahoma.
Michigan State. Okay, Michigan State. I'll give them they're very good. They're very well coached. They got a tough bracket, but they can get through it.
Okay.
So West Virginia 1, Michigan State 2.
Oklahoma
3. These are all good value teams too, but that's just the way I think. I'm just conditioned to think this way, and it's
okay.
It's healthy in a lot of ways, and it's overdone in some ways, and it's my flaw that I can't help but be a bit of an iconoclast and just be against the grain, because being against the grain is always right? That's why everyone playing poker the same way is wrong.
I thought you were an iconoclastic.
Trying to copy what someone else has already grooved on their own. Why do you want to play like them? They already know what they're doing. You have to try to learn it, so they'll counter what you can do at some point. Anyway, I have to keep mentioning that poker thing because that really bugs me about the poker world is when I got laughed at for raising 2.2 and my friend got laughed at for making 1/3 size continuation bets, they wouldn't be getting laughed at now, right? So things are ever evolving. Be open-minded and stop thinking that people are stupid or dumb or can't play a lick. Maybe they're doing something that you never thought of. Anyway, that's my last poker comment because I'm not really respected except in 7-card stud, which is not what we're really talking about now. So yeah, that's. I'll go with those teams for most likely to win.
Okay, those are the most likely. Okay, now let's get to your first round.
Not with much alacrity, I will say. I mean, it's kind of hard to look at these brackets and come up with something that fast, but yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Your first round, best bets. What are you looking at in the first round saying that's getting your money down?
Holy Cross tomorrow night in the playing game.
Holy Cross?
Holy Cross plus 2.5, so I'd buy it up to +3 -120. Even if you have to take 2, I think it's okay, but I think you'll get 2.5.
Okay.
So Holy Cross had the worst year they've had in maybe the history of the school, which was shocking because they hired Bill Carmody, who is the best basketball mind in basketball, in my opinion. If not first, he's top 3. Because you saw Greg Marshall tonight. He's pretty brilliant, too, the Wichita coach.
Right.
And there's a few others out there. There's a lot of really smart guys, but Carmody is special. He went to Princeton. He played under Pete Carrill. He coached under Carrill. Carrill was, God in basketball. So he learned from the best and played for the best and went to Princeton. So obviously he's not stupid. For all the Canadians up there who don't know, Princeton's an Ivy League school. Ivy League schools are considered some of the better schools in the States. And I won't mention that I happen to go to an Ivy League school, but we'll throw that in there.
Okay.
So I root for the Ivy League, but that's not why Carmody's a genius. He's a genius because he is. His schemes are hard to deal with. And during the conference tournament, he goes on the road and wins 5 games in a row as a big underdog in 4 of them, and he's in the NCAA tournament. So the dilemma is, do you believe the 26 games during the year where they absolutely sucked, or do you believe most recently, that this team finally got the hang of what is probably a very complicated system and trusted their coach and now are playing to a much higher level? And I'm going with the latter. And even if I'm not going with the latter, just having Bill Carmody with time to prepare for a team is such a huge advantage that even the talent gap that may happen to have here. I don't know a lot about Southern U. They had some very good results early in the year. I know they had some injuries later in the year and then came back when they got healthy. And I won a big bet on them actually against Texas Southern in the semifinals. But they played Jackson State in the finals of their conference tournament. Jackson State controlled the tempo and should have won the game. They kind of blew it at the end. And Jackson State is not as good as Holy Cross. They have a brilliant young coach, too, this kid Wayne Brent, high school guy. No one's ever heard of him. I hope they hear of him soon because he deserves a big job. But anyway, back to Bill Carmody. Bill Carmody with time to prepare is going to beat almost anybody that he's within 10 points of. Let's say golf handicap wise.
Okay.
So we'll say, athletic wise, he's within 10 points of some team. He's going to outcoach the other guy so badly that he can probably make up for it. And Southern maybe is not 3 better than Holy Cross athletically. And I think Holy Cross has a, 4 out of 5 chance of winning the game. And as a bonus, you're getting points. So I'd say it's a super strong play.
Holy Cross 14-19 their record. That's
right, but they won their last 5 and all convincingly and beating some very, very, very good teams. The Patriot League is the next to last team to offer athletic scholarships. For years, they wouldn't offer it. They're like a notch below Ivy League in academics, just a notch.
Okay.
Maybe a half a notch. So if you can't get into an Ivy League school, you go to a Patriot League school. But that doesn't mean you're stupid. I mean, that means you're still, a very intelligent human and you're going to get a great education. And they did not offer athletic scholarships. So, they played this very cerebral brand of basketball to hang in there. They do now offer athletic scholarships, but they still play a very cerebral brand of basketball, much like the Ivy League. So Lehigh and Bucknell and Lafayette and all these teams play super smart basketball. Yet Holy Cross was able to handle 5 in a row on the road as the inferior team each time. So they were playing to a very, very high level at the end of the year. And I just don't see them losing to Southern U. I just don't. I'd be shocked. I think Southern U is gonna have a lot of trouble dealing with Carmody's hybrid matchup zone that he's going to throw at him. Whatever the fuck he comes up with, it's going to be really difficult. No one runs a Princeton offense that Southern University has faced, and it's nearly impossible to prepare for. So this is like really a tap-out bet. Like this is one of the great bets of all time, I think.
Okay.
I'm being serious. Like I'm trying to control myself because I really can't afford, to go double or nothing, but I'd like to.
Yeah. Okay.
But here's the flaw is that they sucked going into that conference tournament. They would get murdered by Southern. A team that played during the year, Southern U would murder. That's the flaw. Am I overreacting? Am I smokescreened by those 5 games? I sure as shit hope not.
Holy Cross. Now, what about the first round? Have you got some games you're looking at in the first round?
Yeah, I think Yale is going to beat Baylor.
Okay.
But I also think that the line's probably going to go up. So I wouldn't rush in to take 5. I think you're entitled. They bet Baylor every game, and I would expect that whoever they are, people who have influence in moving the line, have Baylor rated much higher than I do. And typically Baylor gets bet. So far, Yale has got bet, but I would expect that the line will go back up. Even if it doesn't, Yale +5, I think, is probably a winner anyway. Baylor is another all-time dumb team against another extremely well-coached team that, by the way, had a kid who is no longer on the team. The captain's no longer on the team, and it's about that Missoula book.
Oh, right.
He was accused of it, and they swear that he didn't do it. All the players got behind him, and it would seem strange that at an Ivy League school that a kid would end up like that, but because they're not pampered or revered like at other places. It's more old school. Ivies play Friday, Saturday to limit lost class time. They play all their games on Friday and Saturday. They don't play any games during the week to limit lost class time.
Good.
They don't have a conference tournament, although they just voted one in, which is really sad. They don't offer athletic scholarships. It's based on need only. So they really do put basketball second to education, unlike the rest of the country, because there's that $1 billion contract. Just it matters. Plus the basketball program funds a lot of other athletics at the schools, probably plus also lines pockets of various assorted people. I could say assorted. I could say a sordid. That would be pretty more appropriate, I guess. So, yeah, you get a very smart Yale team with a lot of experience, with a potential pro in Sears. They're not going to get destroyed up front because they're a very good rebounding team, and that matters a lot in these games where they let a lot more banging go on. They let the banging go on because that favors the more athletic team. The more athletic team is typically from the school that they want the money to get to. So even the refereeing is slanted towards the big name schools. Everything favors the big name schools in this whole fiasco they call the NCAA tournament. However, Baylor is so dumb and Yale is so smart, and Yale gives away nothing like ever, that I think Yale has a very good chance to win the game. And if they don't win the game, it's certainly going to be close. And, if you can get 6 points with Yale, you really have something, I think, pretty special. And I think you'll get at least 6 points.
Okay. So
so I'm looking at that one for pretty strong. And I think those are like the two strongest, Holy Cross and Yale. There wasn't a heck of a lot. I like Pittsburgh against Wisconsin, +2. Pittsburgh disappointed often during the year, but the Wisconsin ain't much. A young team whose coach quit midseason, and they got better. The guy actually tweaked them a little bit and made them better, but they're kind of young, and I think their late season run, which they had, was more of a smokescreen of what's to come. I think it was a little bit of a flash in the pan. The team is no doubt going to be good, and maybe even next year have Final 8 potential, and in 2 years for sure, Final 4 potential. But he's got a lot of young players, a lot of freshmen, playing a lot of minutes, and at the end of the year, that might pile up a little bit. They did not play well in their conference tournament, which was a smart thing because they probably needed the rest. They did not play well in their last game of the year either. They had a brief little run there where they played 5-6 games in a row that are good. I think Pitt, who had a very disappointing year and maybe isn't that good, but still is a well-coached team who plays the game the right way. Wisconsin does too, by the way. But I think Pitt's at this moment in time is a better version of Wisconsin. Wisconsin should not be the favorite in that game. So Pittsburgh +2, I think looks pretty good too.
All right, so we got 3 plays. We got Holy Cross +3, -120. If you have to pay to get it up to 3,
Yeah,
Yale.
take 2 if you have to, but
Okay, and Yale +6. You're likely to get, and Pitt +2. All dogs, as you are wont to do usually. Not a lot of favorites in your picks, but that's
which is old school, and really not the best approach anymore. Before they changed all these rules, the dogs had certain inherent advantages. Before it became this billion-dollar industry, kids typically would play football in the winter and hockey in the football in the fall, hockey in the winter, and baseball in the summer, or football, basketball, hockey. They played 3 different sports. And a jock would play 3 different sports,
sure,
depending on the season. But with all the money that even in a sport like golf, they pick a sport and they play 365 days a year. So they're more. Also, the gym became more relevant now that it's a 365 day a year thing. Basketball players in my day wouldn't go to a gym. They were tall, skinny kids who played basketball. And now the gym is like de rigueur. You must get stronger to play basketball because there's so much more banging and there's so much more athletic. You must get stronger to play any sport. Golfers go to the gym now.
Yeah.
That would be unheard of back in my day.
Poker players go to the gym.
They should too. I started going to the gym to improve my craft. I was a 5'8", 210 chunker who got drunk every night and did coke every night. But I needed better self-esteem. I needed to clear the clutter in my head, and I decided that getting healthy would be a good way to pick basketball games. And starting in 1990, I really went for it. I started going to the gym, and eventually I really went for it and decided that, I'm not going to do it half-heartedly. And I trained almost like an athlete. I mean, I hired a personal trainer, and at one point when I had done like an 8-exercise superset and I was crawling to the next exercise, this is actually a good story. We did a 4-exercise superset in chest, which means we did 4 exercises with no rest, and then rested after I did the 4 exercises, and then did 3 sets of that. And I was dead in the water. Dead, I'm done. And now he has me go over to the chin-up bar. He says, all right, we're going to do a burpee, which is you jump out, you extend your legs, you come down, you extend your legs out, you do a push-up, bring your knees in, jump up. He wanted me to add a pull-up to that. So he said, we're going to do 4 sets of 8. And I looked at him, I said, you out of your fucking mind? I can't even stand, all right? And he looked at me and said, so you're just going to be a vagina your whole life?
Oh.
And I said, fuck you. And did the 4 sets of 8 like it was nothing. And I couldn't stand, man. I literally couldn't stand. And that afternoon I called him and I said, you know what? Thanks. I've been copping out my whole life. Because when you get to some point when you're working out where you're so tired that you feel like you can't do anything, but you know what? You got a lot more in you. You just
Alan, I gotta ask you. I gotta interrupt. Sorry. What's your thoughts on ice cold showers?
Yeah, I tried that this week. There's a lot of talk about.
Adam tried it for like 5 seconds. I told him to do it. I told it's beneficial, and he pussied out. What are your thoughts?
I didn't pussy out. I had it on for.
Nothing about it to comment. Sounds pretty scary.
But would you do it if you sound like the kind of guy who would do it if you're going to do 4 sets of 8 burpees with a chin up on top?
That's pretty hard.
Seems like you'd be willing to do that.
Yeah, I went way past that. Now it's just now at that point now it's not what you do. It's convincing your mind that you got a lot more in you, even though you can't even breathe, and it's all mind over matter. And I'm sure a 5-second ice cold shower eventually could be mind over matter. You just have to get through that first.
Terrence goes longer than 5 seconds. He goes for 5 minutes. He has the full.
Yeah, 5 minutes is my record right now.
The full cold shower.
What does it supposedly do? Besides give you potential for cryogenically freezing you.
No, it's definitely improves your growth hormone, your testosterone levels, reduces fat, increases your resilience to stress. People who do cold showers get sick less often in the winter. So it's that old thing, don't go outside without a sweater because you'll catch a cold. The reason is because
bullshit. Yeah, they did studies on that I know.
Yeah, Yeah, the only reason people get sick in winter, the predominant reason people get sick in winter, because we spend all days indoors. It's comfortable. It's 72 degrees exactly. If it gets to 70, we turn the heat up, and if it gets to 74, we turn the air conditioning on. We're too comfortable. So what waking up in the morning when you're already cold and taking a cold shower, give that intermittent shock to your system. It's basically the same ideas as working out. Nobody really wants to work out and lift this heavy thing and put it back down because it's hard. But the thing is, when you lift up the heavy thing and put it back down, the next day you're stronger. And it's the same idea with cold shock or heat shock. People go in the sauna for the same reason. So that's the science behind it.
All right, Alan.
Shocking your system with cold, but you shock your system with heavier weights to have your body react and
kill muscles and
build more muscle. So what does shocking it with cold do besides maybe throw your fucking internal thermometer off? I don't.
Well, what happens is
because it makes your body less.
Well, your body doesn't it go into fight or flight at some point?
Itself?
So the body's always trying to regulate itself back to homeostasis, right? So
Right.
if you eat too much, it'll always try to bring you back to where you are. That's why
Right.
dieting doesn't work. When you're hungry, you just end up eating more.
Well,
So
dieting can work, but you hit set points, and the set points think you're starving. You just have to override that. You have to
exactly.
battle it. Yeah.
Exactly. So when you make yourself overly cold or overly hot, you're kind of teaching your body to come back to the homeostatic situation. So you're basically saying, okay, I can handle this cold because and the body will bring it back to warm. Similarly, if you go do heat training, now you go do heat training, you go run a marathon in the desert, you're going to be a lot more equipped to handle those days that are hot. So in general, it's a lot of immune health. They've been shown to have positive effects on the brains too. And I think but in general, like, stressing the body acutely is always the way to go, and that's the same way with exercises. It goes the same fasting and not eating for taking a couple of days off of eating. Acute stresses on the body make the body more resilient in the long run. You don't want to do it.
How about going to South America and going on some 3-day acid trip? That seems to be a popular thing now.
It'd stress your body there.
Sure,
a friend of mine explained to me. I had a friend explain to me all that. He did it himself. He did the research and did it himself. He said it was the scariest thing he's ever done in his life, and also the most enlightening thing, because what they give you down there and that whatever they do for 3 days, that controlled acid trip or whatever it is the thing that the drug they give you makes you confront your demons like head on, like nonstop. And you have to deal with it or you crack. And once you've dealt with what really tortures you subconsciously, you're a much stronger person after. So that's the theory behind that. That's kind of shocking your system again. Except there, you're just confronting your demons, whatever they may be. Your fear of mortality or fear of relationships, whatever it is, you're getting hammered with it via this drug. And if you don't deal with it, you crack. So your body obviously deals with it. It's actually pretty fascinating. Anyway,
all right,
there's another shock to the system.
I want to get your quickly. Somebody was asking, or a couple of people asking, to get your opinion. We'll wrap it up here with what teams you feel were snubbed this year.
I didn't give that much thought, but
I guess Vandy, because they're not in.
Well, Vandy's in. I mean, they were in the tournament, so to speak. I mean, the seeding was really horrible. Teams getting in, they weren't as bad as they usually are. I mean, it's just the seedings are so bad. The teams that got in that shouldn't were Oregon State and Colorado and Syracuse, of course. But Syracuse brings 20,000 fans and sells the most gear of anybody. So Syracuse is always in. It doesn't matter how bad they are. They meet none of the committee likes going on the road and winning tough road games. Syracuse did none of that. They didn't even play a game away from their home. They played 2 away from home. One was at the Garden where they had 80% of the fans, and they lost that one anyway. How you finish the year? Do you finish the year strong? They like that. Syracuse lost the last 5 of their last 6. Yet Syracuse is in, and not only were they in, they're in with like a decent draw and a seed that's undeserved. So it's as far as who got snubbed, oh God. Oh, Valparaiso. Oh, yeah. All right. Oh, so here's who got snubbed. St. Mary's. I actually do know this because I just answered this question. I was just looking at the bracket. St. Mary's has the highest rating of any team ever to not get in the tournament by my ratings. So St. Mary's took the all-time fucking of the committee. Second is Valparaiso. And the reason that these teams get fucked is the approach the committee takes is, quality wins. And these teams don't have chances at quality wins, and nor is any of these power teams going to give them any friggin' chance at a quality win. So what I would ask the committee is, if you have 18 cracks at quality wins and you win twice, is that better than having 2 cracks at a quality win and winning once, And, of course, I would go for the latter. They would go for the former, So the whole system's flawed, and it's flawed to favor the power conferences. So St. Mary's is not from a power conference. Valparaiso for sure is not from a power conference. I was hoping Valparaiso would get in because they were like 250 to 1 to win the whole thing, and I think I had them 15th best team in the country. So
wow,
I was certainly hoping they would get in. Yeah, that's how much of a fucking they took. And St. Mary's is a point better than them. So that's how it all gets wrong. Is the power conferences get credit that's undeserved because they play each other all the time. So they get credit for beating on each other, even though they also lose a lot to each other, and they don't take that into account. So that's how Gonzaga, who is the 10th best team in the country, is an 11th seed. And that's how Wichita State, who is the 8th or 9th best team in the country, is an 11th seed. Obviously that's not possible. And that's how the whole thing has just gone completely haywire. And like I said, they do have the resources to correct that. They choose not to use those resources that are wildly respected. Ken Palm is quoted by virtually everybody now, and Sagarin used to be. So these aren't fools. These are people who have done their work and done good work. I will congratulate them for doing good work. For someone who's not a handicapper, they've come up with a computer program that spits out pretty good stuff. So why not use that instead of going behind closed doors for 3 days and arbitrarily choosing what they want to do? They get it wrong every year. It's known they get it wrong. But since they're in cahoots with ESPN and the other teams, the other companies that show this, it's not talked about by the announcers. It's not talked about in the pregames that so-and-so got fucked over again, that so-and-so has a tougher draw than is deserved. They might mention it fleetingly, but it's not hammered home like it should be because it's all a rigged game, and they're all together in that rigged game. And that's what happens when you put a B in front of the contract. And, I'm being repetitive, but that was a good summation of why the whole process is corrupt and fucked up, and why I was hoping someday that I'd get on like a Colin Cowherd show or some national show and be able to say that. The best I can do is Chad's podcast, which I'm not doing this year. And a guy has me on in Memphis. He does a great job. So the Memphis area is well aware of my thoughts on all this, and now all of Canada is too, which doesn't do a heck of a lot of fucking good to get it out to the American public. But
we got lots of American listeners too, Alan. But thanks so much. Really appreciate your time again this year for giving us your best bets. Hopefully everybody out there, don't go crazy. Don't be putting
I have not had a good year. I'm not as good as I once was. I'm old. I'm not in a good place in any way, shape, form, or manner, except I am happy where I live. And I have some great music coming once again here, too. I mean, Martin Barry's coming, the guitarist for Jethro Tull, and
good.
The guitarist for Jefferson Airplane. He's got a big, long last name. I forget his name, but he's coming, and just, wow. I mean, I got Carl Palmer coming from Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and all kinds of goodies.
Sounds like fun.
Don Anderson's coming back, too.
And make your way out to Foxwoods occasionally, play some poker.
I'm planning on doing that shortly. I just have to get I have to finish the season, see where I stand, and then I have to move, which is, is a pain in the ass. The only good thing is I really haven't taken anything out of boxes yet, so I'm pretty much ready to go. It's a furnished house and a furnished apartment, and I just try to keep things simple. And, I had hoped that things would go well, and they just didn't. And I'm not complaining. I've been my own boss my whole life, and what could be better than that, really? So, if I end up homeless the last few years of my life, it still hasn't been that bad.
All right, well, I hope you run better, Alan. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, sir.
You probably won't talk to me soon. You probably talk to me next year, but I'll gladly come on anytime you want.
All right. Thanks, Alan.
Good luck with the podcast, boys. Cheers.
T, you still there?
I'm absolutely here. I was here the whole time.
Okay.
I'm exhausted.
Me too.
Like, I didn't even say anything, and I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah, you wind him up and he goes. It's he's a fun guest to have, no question about it. So get some money down on there, but nothing that you can't afford to lose. Please don't be chunking off.
What do you think is that if you don't have a bankroll, what is the responsible percentage of your net worth to bet on a basketball game?
Of your net worth?
Yeah.
Wow. 0.5%? I don't know. T, how do you answer that question?
Yeah, I would say something like 1%, given how strongly he felt about it. He thinks it's a bet of the year. Like, I think 1% still feels like a lot.
It's not a huge sample, but his record's been pretty good with us, so... if you've been betting along over the years, if you've been a listener for a while, then you've done all right for sure. Unless you faded him for some inexplicable reason, you've got some money to play with a little bit. So not obviously you're not going to chunk a whole ton of money off on there, but
Holy Cross though they have God on their side.
They do. How can they lose? They're on a mission from God. All right, we got some more stuff to get to. I don't know how much time we'll have to get to after the break. We'll hopefully a few hands for the Rosco report, maybe one or two emails, a voicemail or two. We've also got a visit with Matthew Hilger coming in to talk about something coming up here on Sunday.
Do you think he will drop as many F-bombs?
I'll take the under comfortably.
You get Matthew not fewer F-bombs than Boston is the problem.
Yeah, indeed. All right, you're listening to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. More right after this.
What's up, guys? My name's John Beaupre, and I'm the founder and lead instructor of PLOQuickPro.com. Now, we're the only site that has an entire suite of PLO courses designed by myself, a WSOP champion, and 3-time Supernova Elite PLO Crusher Alien Slayer. Over the past few years, we've successfully taught more than 1,000 players how to master the fundamentals, increase their win rate, and move up in stakes for good. So whether you're a small or micro stakes grinder trying to become a winner for the first time, or you're already a winning player looking to make more money and move up in stakes, and especially if you're a no-limit player looking to make the transition to PLO, we've got the videos, PDFs, and tutorials to help you plug leaks and look at the game in a new way. To learn the guaranteed fastest ways to master the fundamentals, increase your win rate, and move up in stakes for good, visit www.ploquickpro.com/pokercast to get your very own personalized PLO curriculum. Or even better, if you'd like to reach out to me personally, shoot me an email at john@ploquickpro.com and I'll help you find the best courses to fit your game. Good luck.
6 max zoom 500, 230 big blinds deep. MP opens to 10 and I 3-bet 36 on the button with kings. He 4-bets small to 63 and I 5-bet 143 and flat his $222 6-bet. Pot is 450 with 1,000 behind. He bets 555 on the 10-7-3 rainbow flop, and I think, too bad I'm not capable of folding in these spots as I shove, only to see him turn over ace-10 after calling. I hold for 500 big blind pot.
Team Pro Online's Mikhail Inasai-Shalamov is a Supernova VIP. This is the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club.
Hi guys, it's Mike from ProfessionalPoker.com and the 2+2 store with some great news for our PokerStars players. You can now use your frequent player points to purchase gift cards available from ProfessionalPoker.com. These same cards will also work at the 2+2 store. The gift cards come in increments of $25 and $50, and you can apply multiple gift cards per order. Now you can get the books, videos, and ebooks from all the major publishers using just your FPPs. So check out the gift card section of the PokerStars FPP store and pick up the poker training material you've had your eye on for a while at the 2+2 store and ProfessionalPoker.com.
Attention everyone not named Alan Kessler. Have someone you would love to appear on the PokerCast? Have someone you don't want to hear again on the PokerCast? Head on over to the Suggest a Guest thread in the PokerCast forum at 2plus2.com and Adam will do his best to make you happy. P.S. Chainsaw, you can post too.
Welcome back to the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by the PokerStars VIP Club. In the break, I got my money down. T, you get your action down on those?
Firing the whole clip.
You're both clips. You're firing on the pinnacles. All right, good fun. All right, so let's do some mailbag.
And now,
that right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day. Okay.
Mailbag. Email number 1.
Is it voicemail?
It is a voicemail from David.
What up, Pokercast? This is David calling from Las Vegas, Nevada. Long-time listener of the show since Black Friday. So the idea I had is, what if, let's say the WSOP facilitated share buying? Basically, let's say you go up to the cage and say, I want to buy, 40 shares of Dan O'Brien. And then for the player, the way it works is, to cut down on cheating, say someone like Dan O'Brien, he says, I'm selling 40 shares of this tournament, 40%. To cut down on cheating, that person has to give the cage or cashier 60% up front, basically hold it. It goes on the big board. It says, Dan O'Brien is selling this many shares. People line up, go buy it and whatnot. Ross, I like your voicemail message as well. But other than that, you guys have yourselves a great time, evening or afternoon.
All right, thanks, Dave. T, so interesting. This is a man who's interested in having an open market for people at the World Series of Poker, online, different places. But in theory, having an open market for people to, provided by places like Caesars or PokerStars or different places, right? So there is a market right now. It's, what would you call it, tertiary? I don't know how you would label the market right now for people who want to...
Informal, to be certain. I mean, I think that's the clearest thing. It's informal, it's unenforced in any real way. There have been multiple sites that have tried to set up staking platforms. I don't remember if any of them have been successful, but I know we've talked about them on the show multiple times, and the names are all escaping me at this point, right? Where you basically go through
Stake and all these places, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they've always taken some amount of juice, and of course the World Series would do the same. I don't even know about the legalities of this kind of thing. I mean, we talked before about having backers in the World Series and the fact that they won't even issue their tax forms to backers, much less getting themselves involved in this. So it will never happen in the World Series of Poker. Now, I don't know necessarily whether Dave's question is like, will they do this or should they do this? But I can tell you the answer, will they do this? So would it be fun? Yeah, of course. It would be, in a perfect world, it would be fun. It would be great. I think that would be great. It would really get people involved. I think maybe, PokerStars is maybe the best positioned to be able to do this.
Yep.
Simply because you can build this sort of stuff into the software. I do worry that it from a legal perspective, it sort of starts becoming almost like a Bank of Timex situation where you're betting on the outcomes of an event, right? Like that's the part where it becomes really concerned, right? So if, to take Dave's example, like if I buy 10% of Dan O'Brien, so to speak, in some ways I am sort of betting on whether he will do well in the tournament. And I'm not a lawyer. This could be interpreted a number of different ways. I really don't know whether it could be done legally, but I know 100% the World Series of Poker is not going to be doing this anytime in the next few years. PokerStars probably not either, although a little more live. Something like the GPL may be drawing a little live if they still have the legal issues.
I was going to say GPL is an excellent place if it would ever happen. The GPL where there's no buy-in type situation and people are playing purely for the sport of it. I guess you have...
You can bet on like esports, right? Which Alex is always trying to make this thing an esport. And you can bet on esports. You can bet on this team versus the other team, and there's never any problem with that.
Well, has there? I'm not sure if there hasn't been yet. And that's the other thing about the GPL is you take out the financial incentive of the player that you're betting on to do well. However, it kind of exists in a vacuum, I guess. But I don't know. It's
Well, right now I can bet on Pinnacle, on Dota 2, StarCraft 2, as well as League of Legends.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying, has there been issues with the the integrity of the game and the matches?
I mean, everybody. I think that everybody, at least who's declared themselves draft eligible for the GPL right now, is doing it in some sense for the good of the game, right? Like if you don't believe in what the GPL is doing, and you don't declare yourself draft eligible, you don't sign the contract. And so at this point, the likelihood of people like throwing games, and besides, you're never really going to be able to bet like big money on this stuff, really. So,
True enough.
I think.
All right, number 2.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to say that we had to cut down David's voicemail. He left one hell of a long voicemail, David. Thank you, but too long for this show.
We already had the one long-winded guy allowance for the show.
Email number 2.
Hey guys, it's Rob in Pescadero, California, which is one hell of a long way from Kel, although I wouldn't mind visiting Kel. And listen, I just got through listening to the interview with Faraz. That was awesome. What an entertaining guy, and what a wonderful life he's living. So if you can get him back on again, do it. I'm with T. You could just go on forever asking questions, getting really cool answers, and having a wonderful time. The second thing is, Rosco, I'm going to kill you if you don't start back announcing your artists, or at least the name of the group in the cut, or even post them maybe. But you're picking out some really good stuff, and I like it, and I have no idea who it is. So you're doing a disservice to the listener and, above all, to the artist. So fix it. And the last thing is, aren't there any women players in the world worth following or interviewing or talking about? It seems like there's such a void. That's my 3 cents worth. Keep up the great work, guys. Love the show. Take care.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate that. So the first thing for us, fantastic. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Could talk to him every week, no question about it. And the second thing was
the music. The music is in the show. I don't know if it shows up on iTunes, but it shows up at pokercast.2plus2.com. It's in the show thread every week. I put them in order. The first song is the first one, and the second one is the second one.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I guess what the point, is a lot of the people who listen to our show every week don't spend much time in the forum. Don't come to the forum.
Too bad. You got to come to the forum.
If you want to find out I was just about to say that. If you want to find out about the music,
be a contributor. Don't. This isn't just a one-way street. This is a two-way street of communication. Come, contribute. We love people who show up on the forum. So at least lurk, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then the third thing, there's definitely a lot of women worth interviewing and talking to. We don't want to just interview people for the fact that they are women. That's the reason why we're bringing them on. So, when it is appropriate, I'm open to, inviting anybody on the show, really. T?
Absolutely. It's been a while, definitely, since we had one. I can't really think of off the top of my head of the last one, but yeah, we should really brainstorm that and make an effort to get that in there.
Indeed.
Email number 3.
Hey guys, it's Mark. Just wanted to see if you could possibly get Matt Glantz and Michael Johnson on the show to debate President Trump's impact on online poker in the USA. Thanks, guys.
That would be fantastic. I don't think it'll happen.
Considering that Donald Trump didn't allow us, when we were at Ultimate Poker, to even have his name in any way associated with our online gaming venture, despite the fact that we were aligned with the casino that bears his name.
Really?
Says that, I don't think, we weren't allowed to have, we weren't allowed to use photos of anything that said, Trump in it. And it was, yeah, that was the thing that happened.
He's not going to be a big fan of online gaming, you're saying? Or maybe he's just worried about people.
He might change his mind. Who knows?
Yeah. He does that often. But having MJ on the show I don't think that would get very far, because MJ, like many people, are quite anti-Trump, and Glantz is pro-Trump and talks about it every chance he can on Twitter. So, it would be fun for sure. I think having Mike back on at some point would be a lot of fun, whether it's to talk to talk to Matt or not. I think we should strive to have him on again at some point.
Email number
004. Hit my Jones up on the low.
Josh writes, "Hey guys, I've been listening to your show for years. This is the first time I've written to you. Love listening while driving or playing poker. From Melbourne, so I play at the Crown Casino. I was recently playing a 2-4 no-limit hold'em and encountered the following hand. I was hoping to hear your thoughts on this hand. Would find it exciting if you'd discuss it on the show. 2-4 no-limit hold'em, been playing about 45 minutes and the table's pretty bad. Everybody is playing tight and very little action, so I'm thinking of finding a new one. Haven't played against anyone here before. I have about 260, and I'm covered by both players in this hand. I'm dealt the king of spades, king of clubs under the gun, and make it 20 to go. Again, this is 2-4. He's made it 20 to go. 2 callers, excluding the blinds, so 66 in the pot. The flop comes down queen of hearts, 6 of diamonds, 3 of hearts. I bet 35 and get 1 caller who has position on me. Turn.
Aggressive call?
Turn comes the 10 of spades. So now it's queen, 10, 6, 3, 2 hearts. I bet 80. And so I have about 125 behind. He makes it 160. So you're leaving. He says, sorry, Josh now says he calls. The river is the 3 of clubs, pairing the bottom card on the board again. Queen, 10, 6, 3, 3. I check. He puts me all in for the last 45. He calls, and he gets shown quads for pocket threes. So, Terrence, first of all, I think, the turn play, if you're going to call, you got to reshove there, get your 45 in. When you're not ever going to fold for the 45, and you don't want him to fold in the river if some bad card rolls off or he's bluffing. So, that part.
Well, I mean, I would actually disagree with that. If he is just stone being dumb and, making, or you might as well just let him bluff off the last 45. In practice, I don't think anybody ever makes it 160 and leaves somebody with 45 behind unless they're generally quite strong. So I think that's the decision.
Well, he might misread his stack or that kind of thing. I'm just saying, if you have 45 left and you're out of position on the river and it goes check, when you're going to get the 40, like you're calling, if he bets the 45 on the river, right? You're never folding. Yeah, sure. So I feel like if you're going to just call on the turn, you're going to give the guy a chance to save $45 if he is, the 1 in 100 times you have, he's totally out on the limb or whatever. So the rest of the hand,
I don't really understand, because he's always, anytime he has king feet, he's always going to bet the 45 on the river, right? Anytime he's bluffing, you don't actually gain anything unless he has, like, say, ace
could have
four,
a draw.
Unless he has some equity.
There's queen 10, 6, 3, 2 hearts. People often do this with, like, the king jack of hearts, that kind of thing. So now, let's say that he has that hand in the river.
Sure, but he's going to bluff again on the river.
Not necessarily. When he noticed you have $45, maybe he thought you had more.
Well, okay.
I'm just saying, you're calling 100 times out of 100 when he bets the river.
Yeah.
So why not get the money?
Let him do that.
No, but I'm saying he could say. Anyway, you don't agree? You don't think that there's sometimes you lose out on $45?
I'll say that it doesn't really matter very much, but I don't like this. You have a bluff catching hand, so you might as well just bluff catch, right?
But then he decides not to bluff, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, if he decides not to bluff, he's going to fold the turn when you shove 45 more.
Not if he has a draw.
Okay, but then, it doesn't matter, because sometimes the draw gets there anyway on the river, right? And then he's value betting you.
Yeah, when it gets there, he is, but when he's not, you lose out the 45, I guess.
Right. So it doesn't matter if he's always betting the river and you're always calling the river, then.
No, he's not always betting the river. I'm saying sometimes he just gives up with the draw. Like, you're missing out that 40. If you're always when you call the turn and you have 45 left and you're always getting that 45 in, on the river, if he bets, then you're missing out sometimes when he has a draw and whiffs.
Sure.
Okay. How often that is, I don't know. Probably not very often, but it's at least going to happen. I don't know, whatever our sake of argument, 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000.
Yeah. I guess it doesn't matter. It's the point. I don't think it matters very, very much. I think the issue is probably more the decision point about whether to bet the turn and whether to call the raise. These are the two big things, I think, obviously, Pre-flop, obviously, the sizing is big, but maybe that's standard for the game. I don't know. Maybe 5x big blind is normal for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get called behind. You're obviously going to c-bet this flop pretty much. You're going to c-bet a queen 6-3 flop very often. And then the turn is, I think, a little bit more interesting. I think checking is reasonable. Check calling, again, like turning your hand into a bluff catcher is probably the default way to play an overpair on this board. That's not too scary. You know, it is a little bit like you don't want to give free cards to the flush draws. Straight draws aren't that likely because, you know, people do call with 5-4, but, you know, it's not that big a deal. You know, having bet and getting raised to that amount, that's a tough spot. I mean, I probably, you know, close my eyes and just, you know, put it in like you would, or said call or call again on the river. But, you know, it's not that, you know, I definitely don't think it's a big mistake either to call or fold.
What about the fact that it's the queen of hearts? So again, the flop is queen of hearts, 6 of diamonds, 3 of hearts, 10 of spades in the turn. He doesn't have a hand like ace queen of hearts, you know, which would make sense in that spot if he, you know, he runs into trouble. So then when he does get raised in that spot, it's pretty polarized to, you know, strong hands, right?
Yeah, I agree. It probably looks like a set or queen 10 a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard to think of other things like semi-bluffing draws. You're just thinking, yeah, I mean, ace 10 of hearts, I guess, is a reasonable draw. He also mentioned, and I kind of forgot this in my previous, is that, you know, he said everybody's playing pretty tight. So, even like combo draws like 5-4 of hearts are not that likely because maybe they don't even call. I mean, he made a 5x pre-flop, so I don't think 5-4 suited should call, for this kind of stack. So, yeah, I mean, I don't like it, but I certainly don't blame him for getting the money.
Stack size is kind of awkward too, it seems like.
Yeah. This is kind of what happens when you make a big raise from out of position, right? You end up playing a bigger pot out of position. So.
You know what Mason said about that?
Vigorous debate.
All right, we've got some more emails to get to, but why don't we save them? We had a long interview with Alan. We've got some emails now in the bank for our next show, so let's keep them there. Why don't we do some hands?
Good old Rosco. Sure glad he's all right.
Listen, boy, you gotta pick your spots good. You gotta make hay while the sun shines. Hey, God, you dipstick!
It's time for a Rosco report.
Let's go.
Let's do it. This is my PLO Quick Pro concept of the week. Last week it was calling 3-bets. This week is 3-betting your own hand.
Okay.
So I've tried to choose some hands that are kind of non-standard, and you guys can tell me what you think. Also, what I've thought of doing this week is uploading the because I have these screen captures from Poker Tracker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try and upload those and then add the links into the iTunes description. So if you're listening right now, you can try and open the description and see if you can open those. If not, they will be in the show thread also. So
great.
You want to read through this?
Yeah, let's do this. So it's 25 cent, 50 cent PLO Zoom on stars again. The hero, this is Rosco, is in the big blind with the 7-7-5-5. The double paired with 7 high flush draw. Folds to the button, who raises a full pot to 125. Small blind calls the dollar, and you decide to 3-bet here to $5. The button calls, the small blind calls, 3 to the pot, $15 in the middle. Flop is ace, queen, 4, rainbow, 1 club. The small
smash is my range.
Smash is your range. Well, first let's talk about the 3-bet pre-T. As far as I'm concerned there, I think that's a tough hand to 3-bet. I think even when you do spike, you end up getting in with bottom set against either a bigger set or wraps or some kind of hand that has equity against you.
But that's
No, I'm just saying.
Sorry.
I'm just saying as a general rule. I'm not saying you don't do it. Obviously, you've got to do with lots of different things. With
you get it in with like top and bottom pair against your set a lot too.
Yeah, and you're going to win.
That's actually the thing about raising it pre-flop, and I think John talks about this a lot in PLO Quick Pro. Is when you make the effective stacks shallower, it's much safer to get it in with bottom set. And I mean, I think that's
right.
I think that's the sort of the key idea is that people will stack off with top pair, but you're absolutely right in a pot that's much deeper. If if it comes whatever queen 9-5 or something like that, your set of fives, if a bunch of money goes in, is in much more trouble. Whereas you can get it in with some weaker draws and top pair kind of hands if you do 3-bet pre-flops. Now, like double suited, I mean, I think it would be pretty clear, but I mean, single suited maybe it's a bit light, and they are smalls and make small straights and small sets and all that kind of stuff. But I admire the creativity.
I think a lot of the times too, it depends on the button and the small blind and your penchant to 3-bet. Like they're going to have stats on you. If you're 3-betting a lot of the blinds, they're going to be pretty sticky on a lot of flops. But there's lots to go into the decision, I guess is what I'm saying. The flop again is ace queen 4, 1 club, small blind checks. The hero bets 2/3 pot. The button folds. The small blind calls 945. Now, the small blind called a button raise. He called your 3-bet, and the flop came ace queen 4. So, really good chance this guy has some kind of hand like ace queen, ace king, jack 10, right? I mean, you can put him on a pretty narrow range here. Agreed, T?
Yeah, I mean, they may just often peel with just a king jack 10. I don't think they need to be as strong as ace king jack 10. Obviously, ace king jack 10 is continuing, but I mean,
ace
you
king
can see
jack
some
10
Broadway
probably 3-bets itself.
Maybe, depending on the player.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I think a Broadway wrap is kind of there. I mean, top 2 pair is in the range, although I think top 2 pair is probably just going to try to slam it in at this point. But yeah, I mean, obviously, in the equity game, we're pretty far behind, but top and bottom pair is a possibility too. But yeah, obviously it's a pretty dry board, so looking mostly like Broadway draws and top pair kind of stuff.
Okay, so he check calls the 2/3 pot bet. The turn is the king of diamonds. Now it's ace queen 4 with a king of diamonds on the turn, bringing a flush draw. Check, and now you check behind.
Surrendered on this hand.
Yeah, you've given up there. You're obviously not checking aces ever there, right? You're not checking top set with stacks getting that shallow. So thought process there, Ross? Are you giving up there?
Well, I mean, I'm afraid of getting check raised. And I mean, yeah, I don't really have any real equity in the hand, and he checks, so I'm just trying to see what happens on the river.
Okay, the goes check on the turn again with the king of diamonds. The river is the offsuit deuce at ace queen 4 king deuce on the river. Small blind bets very small. He bets 1/3 of the pot, $12.50 into $34, and you shove all in on the guy, or you effectively put him all in. And we don't see the results. T, what do you think of the raise in the river?
I hate everything about it.
Yeah.
I hate the sizing. I hate the fact that we checked behind on the turn, and now we're trying to represent something on a blank river. That's the thing. Like, do we ever check behind monsters in the river? Like, we're basically doing this completely exploitively because of this guy's sizing. I assume that's why we're doing this. And even then, even if you have the best read, I don't see what raising to 70 accomplishes that raising to 40 doesn't accomplish. So
yeah, totally.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, too big. But
you can charge after the game.
What did this fine gentleman do?
He folded.
He folded.
Yeah, it was obviously
because
extreme.
This is the brag report.
No, it's not. It's obviously super exploitable. I was basically done with the hand till he bet so small. But I think, if I am going to raise there, I should probably give myself a better price than just, get snapped off by the nuts and lose the maximum amount.
The nut, like ace 4 is calling you on the river, I think.
I don't know about that.
I'm not sure. All right, let's get into hand number 2. You chose this hand, why?
Just because, when you 3-bet out of position and then you're not really sure whether it's correct to stack off or not. I mean, obviously
difficult spots.
You
right?
could run you can run simulations and math and stuff, but I'd just kind of like to get your opinions just at first glance.
Okay, so you are in the small blind. It goes under the gun raise, full pot to 125, fold. You 3-bet in the small blind with the king, queen 9 with the king 9 of diamonds. Did you apologize? No, did not. To 425, fold. The under the gun calls the $3 for the 3-bet. The flop is 9-10 deuce with the 9 deuce of spades. There's $9 in the middle. You lead for 2/3 pot, a little close to 2/3 pot.
Yeah.
That is a really tough board. You block obviously sets of 9s with your 9, but that board smashes a lot of ranges, especially flatting 3-bet ranges. It's got a lot of draws. It's super draw heavy. You're not going to win this too often, I don't think, with a bet on the flop. I don't know what he would have to call your 3-bet and then fold on this flop. I mean, it hits a lot of his range, I guess is what I'm saying.
Also, I mean, I'm not sure.
So you bet the 2/3 pot on the flop. I don't hate that. I mean, you don't have any spades, so you don't have any flush blockers. But T, what do you think of the bet there?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, c-betting after 3-betting pre-flop is pretty standard. But, once you started describing that, Adam, I started thinking that too. Like, I'm really having trouble finding plausible hands for this opponent to be able to fold. I mean, things like ace 7-6-5 double suited or something like that. I mean, do you kind of have to have because if you're wrapped around the middle, you've got some of it. If you're wrapped around the top, like the Broadway end, you've still got kind of almost enough of it to float. Plus the 2 spades out there, which you have no spades in your hand, makes it more likely that he's a flush draw. It's really like 2 pair hands, I guess.
Yep.
Like king. Even then, it's hard to even think of reasonably connected 2 pair hands that have any sort of thing like.
I just don't think you're getting folds here.
Hand.
Yeah, you're just
now that I think about it, like I know that in the moment I probably would have bet too because I'm kind of a c-bet spaz. But giving that's what you've kind of convinced me that there's not a lot of value in betting here.
So you bet he raises to $16.
Yeah, so
you bet 567. He raises to 16. You ship on the guy.
I'm thinking that so I kind of leveled myself because I was like, oh, I don't want to fold. Like I'm blocking straight outs. I'm blocking 2 of his nut straight outs. I'm blocking the 9, so it's hard for him to have that set. So I was like, oh, he's probably just got a lot of draws. Like, let's just go all in.
Okay, and he calls on. Yeah, so I guess I don't like your 3-bet on the flop. I don't. I hate having to bet fold this flop because you do have some equity.
Check calling might be.
Check calling, I think, is the way to go there. What ended up happening?
I obviously banked the river.
The jack ball just rolled up. The red jack
ball on the river. He had 8, 9, 10 jack.
8, 9, 10 jack. Yeah,
with no suit.
Okay.
So I wasn't doing terrible on the flop. I was 33%, but not ideal. I think check calling is more legit. It's hard because you don't think about it in real time all the time, but when you're c-betting into a board that you have like if it's a 2-tone board and you have none of the flush blockers, then they have a lot more. So something to think about.
Hand number 3, you start with about 160 big blinds, somewhere in that range. You're in the small blind. You are dealt the ace, king, queen, 10 with the ace, queen of clubs. Under the gun raises, full pot 175, fold. The button calls. You 3-bet to 750. I like the 3-bet. Fold under the gun calls. The button calls. So 3 to the flop, 23 in the middle. T, you like the 3-bet there?
Yes, I think the 3-bet is about as clear as it gets, especially in position there. 4 Broadway cards with a suited ace is the exact kind of hands you love to have, in PLOs.
So 3-bet, interesting hand though. Let's say you get 4-bet, where guys polarize pretty hard to aces. Your hand doesn't play well against aces, obviously, because you've got the ace in your hand. Is it a hand that you can 3-bet fold for a big 4-bet?
I mean, yeah, here it might be okay just, being out of position. I mean, it's a little bit skewed that way, but people do 4-bet with middling rundowns, and it would be a really big disaster,
right?
To be against a rundown that you dominate and fold there. So that would definitely suck. So
yeah, I think
I would be inclined to still peel.
I mean, you're always getting 160 blinds in with Ace King Queen 10. I guess is the question.
Well, you don't
have to get it in. Right?
No, I'm saying, but if that's the case, are you getting it in with that hand?
Well, it depends what the flop is, right?
No, I'm talking about pre. Like if you get 5-bet and now you make a decision.
Well, the worst you could get is 4-bet, right?
Once I'm convinced,
so you get 4-bet, you just call.
Sorry, 4-bet. I said 5-bet. I meant 4-bet. But now, you're out of position with an awkward stack too when that happens. But you flop big a lot of the times with that hand. So, but it's a tough spot.
And even a lot of the times, if you flop just a pair inside cards, you're not going to be too far behind. Yeah, I don't see it as a big mistake. And sometimes you do outflop the aces.
Okay, so again, you 3-bet 3 to the flop, right?
Yeah.
For $23 in the middle. The flop is Queen 4 deuce with 2 hearts. So you have no backdoor flush draws. You have top pair, and obviously your backdoor Broadway draws. But there are 2 hearts on the flop. Queen 4 deuce with the deuce 4 hearts. The hero now bets yourself. You bet $15.75 into 23. The button raises to $69, and you ship for $81. The button calls. So you bet. He raises. Are you giving him just a pure draw there? I guess is that your
that's
what
your
I
thought
have
process? A question in this hand because thinking back on it now.
I mean, can you?
I think I'm flipping against like a flush draw and a queen. I'm not in great shape, so I think that looking back on it, I think it might have just been a fold, but it's really hard to fold when you have like the nut top pair.
We got no flush blockers again, right? This goes back to that other hand where you've got no hearts in your hand, so there's it's a bigger chance that he has hearts in his hand, and I think this is another one you can check call on myself. T, what do you think of that on the flop, on the Queen 4 deuce flop?
Oh, I don't like check calling and kind of turning my hand face up at that point because I don't really see what I would check call with other than a hand that looks like this.
So bet folding is the way you want to approach this?
I don't know. I mean, it's just if this were an all-in, like if the stacks were slightly smaller, I would have no problem getting it in. Like even the times that you're against the set, it's not an absolute disaster. You probably still have 25-30% equity or something like that. I don't really know. I should probably memorize these things
probably
better.
Less of that, but yeah.
But and then sometimes you are just going to be against like a queen and a flush draw and stuff like that, and the hands where you're close to 50-50 actually. So yeah, like if the raise was all in and you didn't have to put any more in, I'm definitely putting my money in. So yeah, I mean I think
okay.
I'm okay with getting it in.
You got it in again, and the turn is the 3 of spades, and the river's the 7 of clubs. So Queen 4 deuce 3-7. You end up with one pair. What takes this one down?
He had me in really bad shape. He flatted my 3-bet with aces and a low flush draw.
Wow.
Ooh,
you drawn 10, yeah.
Yeah,
that's not too likely. It's very rare that somebody will flat a 3-bet with aces when they have an opportunity to get that much of their stack in. So
I've noted that is something that's stung me quite a few times. Is I 3-bet with kings and then jam a low flop and they wake up with aces. So it's a thing to think about, I guess. Just take a note on the players that do it.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Rosco report. Maybe T, you're not going to place any hands this week, but maybe I will. And I guess you're going to be. Are you training right up until the fight, or are you taking a days off?
I'm dieting. I'm conserving energy at this point. That's why I had no hesitation doing the show this week. You've asked me before previous fights, like you probably don't want to do the show a couple days before your fight. No, I've got nothing better to do. Right now, I'm happy to hang out with you guys, get some good basketball picks, and talk some PLO. And now I'm probably just going to sit on the couch and fall asleep in front of the Netflix.
Perfect.
I mean, realistically, 2 days before the fight, you should just be relaxing and getting your weight down. And you definitely don't want to work out super hard when you're calorie restricted. That's not a good recipe for success on fight day.
All right, let's get out to the Isle of Man. And Matthew from PokerStars, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Pretty good. Getting a little bit excited. We've got something big happening this weekend over at PokerStars. But first, I want to ask Terrence, where were you Sunday, March 5th, 2006, T?
March 6th, 2006. I'm going to go with, well, let's see. What year was I? I would guess Costa Rica.
You were in Costa Rica at PokerStars, or you were watching the first Sunday Million ever?
No, I was not. I was definitely not working for PokerStars in 2006, but I may have been watching or playing. Who knows? In the, I guess we could look at. I guess Matthew might know whether I was playing in the 2006.
Look up his account.
Yeah, exactly. But I honestly have no idea whether I participated in the first Sunday Million.
First Sunday Million, March of 2006. This is the 10-year anniversary, Matthew.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think about 10 years ago. It's for people who've been playing poker for a long time, like myself. It doesn't seem that long ago, really.
No, not at all.
There are people who were conceived after the Sunday Million, or maybe conceived after they busted out of the Sunday Million, that are now attending third grade.
Yeah,
something like that.
So how's that?
Indeed, they've lived a life where there never wasn't a Sunday Million.
They've only lived in the post Sunday Million life.
That's right. March 20th, $10 million guaranteed for the 10th anniversary. The buzz must be going off the charts over there, Matthew. Are you fairly confident we're going to get to that 10 million?
Well, we started thinking about that like 6 months ago. With all the changes, with us losing a couple of markets like Portugal, the exchange rate things, and it's like, are we going to be able to do it? Last year it was a 9 million guarantee, and we went over the 10 million mark last year. So we're sweating it. It's it'll be close, but we feel good about it. But it's if you think about, normally it's a 1 million, right, every Sunday, and we've been doing about 1.1 million the last few weeks.
Okay. And
then all of a sudden we're going to go from 1.1 all the way up to 10 million in one weekend. In one tournament, paying $215 a pop, 50,000 people across the world. It really shows the power of PokerStars, and when we put our marketing engine behind something, what we can do, and hopefully we'll make it. We're obviously we really want to make it, obviously, and so it's going to be a great tournament. 1 million guaranteed for first. It's just crazy, the size of it, the bigness of it. And of course, for PokerStars, it's our marquee event. It's 10 years. It's a huge deal. It's been one of the main selling points for PokerStars over the years. Brought a lot of people to the site, and so we're really excited.
Now, so we go 9 million last year. We go 10 million this year. PokerStars is under a lot of pressure to expand this market every year. So we get 11 next year, 12. It's a lot of work on your plate.
Well, people talk about poker and growing poker, and every year we've bumped up the Sunday Million, and it's a sign that despite 2011 and despite a lot of things going on in around the world with poker, that poker's still alive and strong, and it's big enough to get 50,000 people to sit down in one day and fork out $215. So we'll have to see next year if we keep it increasing it. I'm not sure we'll keep. At some point it's got to stop. But yeah, it really is a sign that poker is alive and strong and doing well out there.
I think a lot of people have the one request, Matthew, that you start Mustafa Kanit with a half a stack. That seems fair.
That guy's on fire. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. He picked the Sunday Million. Hey, winning any Sunday Million is fantastic. If you're going to run good, maybe this weekend is the one to run good. And March 20th, this Sunday coming up, to add that to your man. I don't know how you can't play that. If you're near a computer, get $215 together.
I don't know. It's a toss-up: the Pokercast Invitational or the
both.
10 million.
You can play more than one game at a time now on PokerStars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's this new funky thing. Speaking of, what's that, Matthew?
I was just going to say, one of the things I really do love about my job as head of VIP Club is the VIP bashes, and it gives me an opportunity to just throw some money out there and some good value. And every month I'm looking, okay, what VIP bash do I get to run this month? And, of course, we got one this Saturday for the Sunday Million, and we're adding 100 seats to the pool. So if you don't have $215, if you can come up with 1,000 stars coin on Saturday, it's running at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we're adding 100 seats. We've already given away over 200 seats the last 3 weeks with the VIP bashes, and this will be the big one with 100 seats in one pop. So that should be quite big. And then, of course, on Sunday we have our normal deadline satellites running. There's an $11 deadline turbo with 1,000 seats guaranteed. There's a $33 one with 333 seats guaranteed. There's another Stars Coin satellite on Sunday with 500 seats guaranteed. So a lot of different ways to qualify.
All right. Speaking of qualifying, we're the EPT Monaco's coming up, and you've got some spin and goes for €10 to qualify for the EPT Monaco. Is that right?
Yeah, this is something new that we haven't done before, and we said, well, let's run a test and see if people would like to try to satellite their way into some packages. And I'll be very honest, I really didn't think it was going to be that successful. I was like, I don't know, if people are really going to want to play a €10 spin and go to go to EPT event, they have to travel. And I really was a little bit skeptical, and I could not have been any more wrong. We've only had it up, I think, only 4 or 5 days, and we've already given away 50 packages.
Wow, that's
50 packages.
That's packages to the main event, airfare, hotel, etc.
Exactly. So it's €10. The package is €9,000, and we'll have to see if the pace keeps up. But we could end up sending like over 150 people to that event. And if you're a live event player and you know that 150 people are qualifying through spin and goes, you might want to start making some plans, because that's going to be a great tournament.
Pack your peanut butter and jam sandwiches when you go to Monaco. It sounds like a good time. So dip your PokerStars account into the 10 spins and try and bank your way in there. It'll be fun. Matthew, thanks so much for joining us. Looking forward to this Sunday, and imagine everybody there is going to be watching. Yes, it'll be great, and hopefully one of our VIP Bash satellite winners will take down the whole thing. That's who I'm cheering for, but should be fun. All right, but Pokercast hosts too, they count. We cheer for those guys. Thanks, Matthew. Okay, very good. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much, Matthew. Appreciate that. T, you're going to play the Sunday Million. I guess you're going to be busy. You're going to be recovering from. What time will the Sunday Million be in the Philippines? The Sunday Million will actually be is always the Monday early morning thing in Asia. So it is I would have to wake up at like 5 a.m. or something like that. Sounds like a bad idea. Maybe if I'm in a hospital bed or something with my Android phone and or my mobile device, something like that. Now, we'll see. I may well, because it's a big deal. It's not like I have to go to training that day, so that's right. It's a possibility. I can late reg. I think they leave the late reg open pretty long for those ones. You'll be eating burgers and fries for like 4 or 5 days. Maybe, could be. All right, Rosco, you gonna jump in the Sunday Million? I'm gonna try and satellite into. Through one of the many ways you can do that. I'm looking for Bunner to take it down. I think that's going to happen. It's my turn. Turn as producers. Yeah. Let's get to the Invitational. This is the PokerStars Invitational for Pokercast listeners. Each Sunday, a $500 added tournament in the private tab of the tournament's lobby with our password. And the format this week during the Sunday 10 million is Courchevel. And the password is Duel. DUEL for those that can't spell. You gotta get on that duel. We should duel it up. Duel it up, and I want to try it. I haven't tried the app. I have the app. Courchevel is the game for March 27th. This is the following week. Remember, we do 2 weeks in advance now. Terrence, format ideas for Easter weekend? So we've done the No Limit Deuce, which is always fun. We've done No Limit Hold'em recently. We've done Courchevel. So do we? I think, okay, you know what? We had Boston on. He was talking about the 7-card stud. We got to do the 7-card stud. How about Super Stud? I don't know if...
That's not an option.
That's 3 formats. It's not. I feel
you're talking about the triple stud.
Yeah, sorry, triple stud. Did I say super stud?
Okay,
Yeah,
I
triple
was like,
stud.
they don't offer triple stud. Triple stud could be doable. So
let's do triple stud.
Ross, you can see if you can get in there. If not, just the regular old 7-card variety.
All right. Password. Why don't we do Monaco or EPT Monaco? Let's do it that. All one word, all lowercase. EPT Monaco for the $10 spins is going to be your password for the March 27th Easter edition of the Invitational. Some thank yous. Alan Boston, thanks so much for winding up and going with the stories. Really appreciate his picks again this year. Hopefully those come through and people make a little bit of money. Thanks to Matthew Hilger from joining us from the Isle of Man. Thanks, Terrence, on a few eves away from the big fight. Appreciate that to you. Safe flight over there and kick some butt, punch him in the face. Rosco for coming in from the suburbs, and to you for listening to the show.
I know I'm going to get got.
Please.
I'm going to get mine more than I get got, though.
Please head on over to our forum and jump in there and contribute. We love to hear from our listeners, and thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week. Before we get on to some basketball, Alan, I want to ask you, we're up here in Canada, we're watching this political circus that's going on in your country, and I really wanted to get your take on what's going on with all the politics and what's going, the presidential race.
I don't know what it is in Canada, but this country has gone. We had this Constitution that this Declaration of Independence and this Constitution that our president took an oath to follow, that he's completely trashed. We've had the worst president of all time, and he got reelected. So that shows you, what disdain people have for most politicians. The fact that Obama could win re-election, it was numbing. The fact that they probably cheated is not out of the question either. He won 150% of the vote in one county and 100% of the vote in 8 counties, which is of course mathematically impossible. So they definitely cheated. But I'm sure Bush cheated when they gave Florida to Gore years before that, and all of a sudden they didn't. And then eventually Bush won the state. I'm sure they did something very evil down there. But as far as what's going on here, it's become so corrupt and so driven by corporate America and their shills, the people they send, I forget what they call them.
Lobbyists?
The lobbyists.
Yeah, I mean, why should lobbyists determine what the public wants? We've gone so far away from what made this country somewhat great. We've gone completely back to what we rebelled against in the 1770s or 1760s, whenever it started. What they wrote about, what they warned about, is exactly what's going on right now, except it's gotten a lot worse. Because now our newspapers no longer report the truth. They duck anything that might go against corporate America. We're trashing the environment at a rate that's almost irreversible now, I'm sure. They want to build a fucking road through the rainforest. I mean, black rhinoceroses are now extinct because of their skin and their horns. Well, the skin and their horns are made out of keratin. Keratin is your fingernail, so you could have shooten your fucking fingernail and got the same thing you could have by shooting some innocent black rhinoceros. This is what goes on in the world. Elephants are being slaughtered for no reason at all. What is it? Tiger semen is supposed to make you live forever. Well, no one's lived forever, you fucking morons, so stop shooting the tigers. It's I don't know how I got sidetracked on that, but the environment is really important to me. As far as the circus that goes on here, there's no way Trump could lose because people are sick of the government nitpicking at their paychecks and raising taxes everywhere, all the time, everywhere you look. To register your car, your phone bill, your cell bill, your water bill, your heating bill, the gas tank. They torture poor cigarette smokers and alcohol drinkers. They just constantly tax more and more and more and more and more. Tolls that are supposed to have been eliminated when roads were completed aren't eliminated. In fact, they keep raising the rates. I could go on and on and on. People have just had enough of it.
Well, we live in Canada. You don't have to go on and on. We see it more than you guys get it up here.
Dumped tea in the harbor for a reason, because it was being taxed too much. And what right do you have to tax us for our fucking hard work? To do what? Well, it's gone way past that. And we have a president with all his executive orders. And I mean, we have a completely psychotic president. He's a megalomaniac. He's an egomaniac. He's not very smart. And he's just completely laid waste to our Constitution and made a mockery of the whole system. And when the guy at the top does it, it just filters down. I mean, not that anyone was so innocent, but so Donald Trump is like, you know, he's not someone who I'd vote for. But the more they trash him, the more I want him in there, because the more he might just go in there and say, you know what? We don't need the Department of Education. What the fuck does the Department of Education do? Schools should be locally run. They're locally taxed. They should be locally run. We don't need federal government telling what they should do in Caribou, Maine, or what they should be doing in Austin, Texas, because they're two entirely different things. The Department of Education, in fact, ruined our school systems by putting this No Child Left Behind bullshit in, which sounds rather nice until you find out it's just test taking. So when I tried tutoring my friend's son in math, and they were doing fractions amongst other things, which was just complete lunacy the way they were spread out, but, you know, you got to take a test, so you got to learn everything. So he knew how to multiply fractions because I showed him how to do it. But did he know what a fraction was? And the answer was no. And when I pulled a case of Red Bull out that I had and took a knife and cut the plastic in half and showed him that there were equal number of cans on each side. So in other words, there's one can on this side for every one can on that side, or for every two cans, there's one on each side, or 1/2, or a half, or 50%, etc. Made it very visible. The kid wasn't stupid either. He's not some kid who needs to be specially ed, you know. He had no idea what I was talking about. He couldn't understand that a fraction was actually a number.
How old was he?
13, 12 or 13, I guess.
Wow.
I forget how old he was at the time. Yeah, 13. I think he was 13 or 14 at the time. When do you learn multiply fractions? Like 8th grade. So, yeah, he was 12 or 13. But that's because they're not teaching. It was funny because I told him, I said, your math teacher's a moron, by the way. And he went home and told his mother that, who works at the school. And his mother said, well, he doesn't know the teacher. No, Boston Smart. He said the teacher's a moron. The teacher's a moron. So,
bet that went over well.
Kid.
Yeah.
But the kid couldn't learn because he didn't know how to think. And you know, so you got to go to a private school to get a good education for the most part, because most of the public schools, unless you're living like Richfield, Connecticut, where I live, the public school systems suck. They don't pay teachers anything. They don't fund them properly. They always claim to raise taxes to fund the schools, but it never ends up there. It's the whole process is so corrupt and so evil that we're just looking for anyone, and Donald Trump happens to be the guy at the right time. And he's running against the biggest creep that ever walked the face of the earth. She's an anti-Semite. She's pure evil. She's a thief. She's done a myriad of wrongs that will not get reported, I'm sure. And she's part of the old regime that's fucked us out of all our money. That wastes trillions of dollars. We have 50,000 troops in Germany. What the fuck are they doing there? They're playing golf. I know that because they talked about the golf course they built there. We have 40,000 troops in Japan. We have troops all over the world. You know what our Constitution says? We shouldn't have troops anywhere. It's none of our fucking business.
Yeah.
So we have these subcommittees. I read this. This is the last thing I'll talk about our government.
Okay.
There's a Commerce Committee. I read this. I'm a registered libertarian, so I believe in almost no government. I believe people should have a choice to do what they want to do as long as they don't hurt anyone.
Rand Paul, right?
What?
Rand Paul was your guy then.
Ron Paul would be my guy. Rand Paul was close.
Okay.
Ron Paul would have been my guy. Ron Paul, even though he's a doctor and did not believe in abortion, still said constitutionally people have a right for that choice. That's how good he was. Even though he didn't believe in it, he would support what he didn't believe in because that's what was right. That's what our Constitution said. How could the government deem who should or shouldn't have an abortion? I mean, it's just, all things just so ridiculous. Anyway, where was I?
Commerce?
Oh, yeah, the Commerce Committee. Right, so they set up something called the Sub-Commerce Committee, okay? And they bragged about their $8 billion budget that they had. $8 billion. Well, it's only an $8 billion budget. $8 fucking billion. That's all their budget was. I mean, there's nothing you could do with $8 billion, right? Except set up the Subcommerce Committee. And their job was to help countries that were struggling. Loan money to them, do whatever. Ultimately, what they did, to a T, 100%, was convince them that they needed these fighter planes built by guess who? Halliburton or Lockheed or one of their companies that the government is in cahoots with. And not only did we convince them they needed it, we'd loan them the plane and they would pay us back at some point. Well, guess what? None of them paid us back. We just kept giving them fighter jets. That's how we helped countries in need, by giving them fighter jets that our tax dollars paid for, that they didn't pay one fucking penny for. So the $8 billion budget didn't quite work out to be only $8 billion and didn't do a goddamn thing. And we have, that's just one committee we have that completely wastes our tax dollars. We have probably hundreds of them, maybe even thousands of them, that aren't talked about at all. And that's where all our tax money goes to. So we need someone to go in there and clean house. And I'm not sure Trump's going to do it. A libertarian for sure would. We don't need Homeland Security. We don't need the Department of Education. We don't need a drug enforcement agency. They don't do jack shit anyway. They arrest guys who smoke marijuana. Oh my God, that's terrible. You smoke the joint. You're so fucking evil. But you have cannabis day up there, right? You've never had one arrest. 100,000 people in one spot, not one arrest. I mean, are you kidding me? Luckily, we've come around with pot and realized that, there hasn't been one study that's ever shown anything but that does good. And I'm not a pot smoker, by the way. I very rarely indulge. That was not my drug of choice when I was basically a drug addict. So, but, if you're open-minded, and I definitely have, my friend has given me some pot candy. It's amazing. It helps you sleep. It relaxes you. It takes away anxiety. It's a wonder drug almost. There's no side effect. You're not addicted to it. I have no just jonesing for pot like I do opiates when I did them. I mean, or even coffee. Anyway, that's it. So our government is completely overboard, maybe past the point of no return. Hillary, the fact that Hillary can get one vote is beyond me. She's pure evil and really rotten to the core and part of the old guard. So here's Donald Trump, who says the right things, and I think people are not really for Trump, but they're just against the establishment, and Trump is the anti-establishment guy, so he's the one to vote for. And I do hope he wins. If Hillary wins, I'm moving up there. So, wow. I am. I'm out of here.
What about Sanders?
I'm not sticking around.
How about Bernie?
What?
How about Bernie Sanders? No.
I'm a libertarian. I don't think the government's role is to take money from the rich and give to the poor. That's free college for all. The guy's out of his mind, but at least he believes in what he says. I'll give him credit for that. And he's from Vermont, which is the best state in this whole country. So he has that going for him. He speaks what he believes, at least. And there's something to be said for that. He's not lying. He's not speaking out of his asshole. He's not saying what people want to hear. He says what he believes in. Now, what he believes in is completely not what this country should be about, in my opinion. But at least he speaks the truth. So, yeah, I'd rather have him than Hillary.
All right, well...
I'd rather have anyone than Hillary.
Well, we got you wound up, Boston.
Thanks for joining us. The 2+2 Pokercast has been presented to you by the PokerStars VIP